Chapter 771. Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second/Small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. X forever. Asterisk for a long time you fee to look at Z small. Say after Night Sorrow communicated with Tianyu for a while, he started to cultivate the spatial crack. He used the pressure of the spatial turbulence storm to stabilize his cultivation. Then, he sped up his cultivation of the myriad Tao tome. At noon, when Night Sorrow finished recovering and was about to use spatial rend again, Yi Linghuan came. Yi Linghuan came alone. What are you practicing? Yi Linghuan asked Night Sorrow. Spatial fissure, then use the pressure in the turbulent flow of space to stabilize your cultivation, Night Sorrow said. Then continue to cultivate. Yi Linghuan nodded. He also wanted to see to what extent his only grandson, Night Moon's only young master, had cultivated the Night Moon dynasty's innate skill. Nodding at Yi Linghuan, Night Sorrow executed the spatial rend and entered the spatial turbulence with the reincarnation spear. Yi Linghuan also entered the spatial turbulence and followed behind Night Sorrow. He wanted to get a closer look at Night Sorrow's situation. Following behind Night Sorrow, Yi Linghuan was shocked. This was because Night Sorrow was moving very quickly through the spatial turbulence. He had to increase his speed to keep up. Night Sorrow's mutated protective shield directly cut forward. When they encountered a more violent spatial turbulence, Night Sorrow would shoot out with his spear, almost not slowing down their advance. After traveling 25 kilometers, Night Sorrow felt that he had expended a lot of energy. So, he used spatial crack to cut open space and return to the 9 domains world. Yi Linghuan also came out of the spatial turbulence. There's no problem with your cultivation of spatial crack. When Grandpa was at your cultivation level, he couldn't do it at all. There's still a huge gap. With the innate skill, spatial crack, even if you can't win against others, it won't be a problem for you to retreat. Grandpa can rest assured, Yi Linghuan said. I also recently found the feeling. Grandpa, do you want to drink? Night Sorrow asked after returning to the wooden boat. Yi Linghuan smiled and nodded. He was very satisfied and appreciative of his grandson, Night Sorrow. While drinking, Yi Linghuan asked Night Sorrow about his future plans and his thoughts on Night Moon's revenge. Night Sorrow didn't say anything about Yin Shi. He only said that he hoped to buy some time so that he could deal with the 7-star saint. Yi Linghuan nodded. Night Moon also needed time. There were still some people in the family who were either recovering or cultivating. The more time passed, the more experts there would be in Night Moon. Love Go Go Xiao Shua 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 W. AI 2X. Currently, Night Moon's strength could defeat any dynasty. But in fact, as long as Night Moon returned and fought with any dynasty, the other dynasties would fight together. They wouldn't watch Night Moon's dynasty be defeated one by one. After drinking a jar of wine with Night Sorrow, Yi Linghuan left. Night Sorrow also returned to the space-time treasure pagoda. He planned to recover and continue cultivating. Your grandfather is very strong. Although he's only a 1-star saint, his aura is very sharp. Ordinary saints can't be compared to high-level saints. I reckon that ordinary 3-star saints aren't his match. Yin Shi said. Through Night Sorrow's soul power, she could clearly sense the situation outside. The problem of the 7-star saint still requires you to resolve it. Your side has a greater chance of success than my grandfather's side, said Yishan. Don't worry. Give me some time. I'll cultivate to 4-star saint. Then, dealing with a 5-star saint won't be a problem. I'm confident. Yin Shi said. She wasn't far from 4-star saint. The more time she had, the more her cultivation would recover. That's good. Call me if you need resources. We don't lack resources, Night Sorrow said as he clenched his fist. Yin Shi blushed because she was embarrassed. She still wanted Night Sorrow's essence and couldn't ask directly. Seeing you like this, I understand. All right. Since we're by the lake, it'll be more convenient for me to take a bath. I won't be tricked by your fragrance. Night Sorrow was very careful now. He was worried that he would be smelled by Yin Shi's fragrance and be discovered by the Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 girls. While obtaining Night Sorrow's essence, Yin Shi would also help Night Sorrow nourish his body and the energy in his body. It was a win-win situation. After recovering, Night Sorrow entered the lake to take a bath. Then, he continued to cultivate the spatial crack. After cultivating until evening, Night Sorrow returned to the mansion. He had dinner with his parents and the 3 girls. Then, he returned to the secret cultivation room to continue cultivating. The 9 regions world was currently peaceful. Many people didn't feel any sense of danger. However, Night Sorrow knew that the 9 regions world was facing a huge storm. It was a very difficult storm. If they couldn't withstand it, then it would be the same as 10,000 years ago. It would be a disaster where all the experts would fall and the 9 regions would be shattered. While Night Sorrow was cultivating, Inshi was also cultivating diligently. The following days were peaceful. After a month, Night Sorrow's myriad Tao Tome cultivation returned to the peak of level 3 of the spirit refinement realm. Night Sorrow's improvement was remarkable, but Inshi's improvement wasn't the same. She had successfully returned to being a 4-star saint. This situation made Inshi feel a little emotional. Only half a year had passed. After her cultivation was damaged, she didn't expect to recover so quickly. Although it would be more difficult to recover her cultivation in the following days because it required more energy, she was still very happy. For Inshi, it was true that she hadn't recovered her lost cultivation. However, her strength wasn't too far off. The most important point was that she had cultivated the body of wind origin. Her cultivation could be recovered with time. However, cultivating the body of wind origin was a great achievement. It wasn't something that could be accumulated with time and resources. After another cultivation session, Night Sorrow went to see Yiling Huan. He asked about the current situation in the Night Moon dynasty. Because he could move now, Inshi could go and fight a 7-star saint. In Inshi's words, it was hard to say whether she could kill the 7-star saint, but she definitely wouldn't lose. Some time ago, Grandpa went back to the Night Moon Sea to check on the situation. The time to counterattack will be 2 months if it's fast, and half a year if it's slow, Yiling Huan said. Before you move, let me know in advance, Night Sorrow said. Yiling Huan was stunned for a moment before he nodded. He understood that Night Sorrow's side was already prepared. After that, Night Sorrow went to drink tea with his mother. His father, Yi Wuyo, stayed in the city in the sky for a few days before returning to the Night Moon Sea to comprehend the power of rules. This time, he came out because he missed his son. Now, Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi were accompanying Yuqing every day. Yuqing could also guide them in their cultivation. A level 7 supremacy was an incredible expert. Yang Lei and Aoi didn't have any relatives. Therefore, they liked the feeling of having a mother. Mother, don't people say that the relationship between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law is hard to get along with? I think you two are not much different from biological mother and daughter. Yi Shang looked at Yuqing and Sikong Chuyu who were drinking tea and said. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said, that's because mother is a kind mother. We are also very sensible. Yuqing looked at Night Sorrow and said, Night Sorrow, you have to take good care of Father Gu. It's not easy for him to raise you alone. Chapter 772. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go divided by Xiao? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Where are you going? There are a lot of people watching you. Yuqing's eyes were filled with worry. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao. Say www.aichuxs. So Yuqing had learned a lot during this period. She knew that Night Sorrow was an influential figure among the younger generation of the 9 domains and was being watched by many forces. She was afraid that some shameless people would try to assassinate Night Sorrow again. Mother, I'm going to take a look at the situation of the emergence of Haotian City. Besides, I've cultivated the spatial fissure. It won't be easy for anyone to assassinate me. Night Sorrow said with a smile. He knew that this was the nagging of a loving mother, but he liked the feeling. Mother, don't worry. When he was a chi refinement cultivator, he ran around everywhere and no one could do anything to him. Now that he's a mid-level venerable, he can fight above his level. There won't be a problem. Sikong Chuyu said with a smile. Night Sorrow bowed to Yuqing and left Sky City. Night Sorrow hadn't been to the Realm Sea for a while. He wanted to take a closer look at the situation of Haotian City. If possible, he wanted to be the first to ascend Haotian City. Currently, only the Tianji Tower Alliance's side was outside Haotian City. However, there were still many venerable teams. The venerables of the 9 domains world were all gathered near Haotian City, waiting for the emergence of Haotian City and waiting for opportunities. After arriving at the Qingtian domain, Knight Sorrow thought for a while and then went to the Celestial Peak Pavilion. Knight Sorrow entered the Celestial Peak Pavilion wearing a mask. The bronze hall guards in the Celestial Peak Pavilion all bowed to greet him. When he arrived at the underground hall, Knight Sorrow took off his mask. Q unspecified currency L head J hair H. Subordinate Heavenly Star greets young master. The golden-masked Heavenly Star bowed to Knight Sorrow. You're too polite. I plan to take a look at the Dark Tower. Knight Sorrow nodded to Heavenly Star and stood on the teleportation array. Following which, Heavenly Star activated the teleportation array and sent Knight Sorrow to the Tianji Tower's Dark Hall. Nodding to Gold Moon, who was guarding the teleportation array in the Dark Tower, Knight Sorrow went directly to the Dark Tower. Guo Xiao and Hua Haining were meditating with their eyes closed. When they saw Knight Sorrow, they opened their eyes and said, "It's rare for you to come here." "Love, go little," said W. Chu. Yi Shan greeted Guo Xiao and Hua Haining with cupped hands. "Wine. Then we'll talk." Guo Xiao tossed a futon to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow sat down, took out the wine, and gave Guo Xiao and Hua Haining a jar each. When they were drinking, Guo Xiao said that Chen Chen's affairs had been properly arranged. Apart from the disciples of the Medicine Valley, the branch of the Tianji Tower in Juyuan City had arranged a long-term task, which was to keep an eye on Chen Chen and kill him directly if he showed any signs of disobedience. As for Su Mu, he seemed to have disappeared at the moment and there was no news about him. It's not easy to find him when he hides. He used to live with beasts and is nicknamed Beast Baby. By the way, what's Ji Yuhao's situation now? Knight Sorrow asked about Ji Yuhao. Then Guo Xiao told Knight Sorrow some news that surprised him. There was a small turmoil in the Ji Yu family. After Ji Yu Fenglan entered the Saint Realm, he had a conflict with Ji Yu Haitian. After a fight, Ji Yu Fenglan, who had mastered the rules of space, defeated Ji Yu Haitian and took over the family again. He also made Ji Yu Hao the young master of the Ji Yu family. With the support and training of the family, Ji Yu Hao had entered the 5th level of the Venerable Realm for some time. This guy's cultivation speed is very fast. Knight Sorrow thought that his cultivation should not be far from Ji Yu Hao's, but now there was still a big gap. Then Hua Haining explained to Knight Sorrow that the Ji Yu family was one of the oldest families in the Qingtian domain and had a very deep foundation. It was easy to train a venerable with resources. Knight Sorrow thought for a while and figured it out. Ji Yu Hao was a venerable with the time attribute, so the Ji Yu family must have trained him with all their strength. As for resources, Knight Sorrow thought that he had a lot of them. However, the Ji Yu family had been passed down for countless generations. Each generation would accumulate some treasures, so the family was very rich. That guy is your potential opponent. Be careful. If you encounter him, kill him if you can. If you can't, run away, Hua Haining said. I know. Don't worry, Elder Hua, Knight Sorrow said with a smile. Hua Haining and the others did not know that Knight Sorrow had the supreme attribute. They only knew that Knight Sorrow had the space attribute, and the space attribute was no match for the time attribute. In addition, Ji Yu Hao's cultivation was higher than Knight Sorrow's, so they were worried. After talking with Guo Xiao and Hua Haining for a while, Knight Sorrow left Tianji Tower and rushed to Haohai City. Previously, Wu Lingfei left Sky City and went to the island in the Realm Sea mainly because the Night Clan people were in Sky City. Sky City was not a place where people could do whatever they wanted, so she was not worried about their safety. Before she left, Wu Lingfei mentioned to Knight Sorrow that the profound jade energy she left in Knight Sorrow's body would vibrate continuously in an emergency. She could feel it. Even if Knight Sorrow was isolated by the energy, she could roughly sense his location. Last time, when Knight Sorrow was captured by Yin Shi, she used energy to bind Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow did not take the initiative to vibrate the profound jade energy, so Wu Lingfei could not find his specific location. Knight Sorrow was very relaxed now. Sneak attack? Come on. As long as it was not a high-level saint, no matter how many people came, they would all die. However, no one came looking for trouble. Knight Sorrow safely arrived at Haohai City and then flew in the Realm Sea. Knight Sorrow also released Yin Shi. You are so ruthless. You can actually ignore the Realm Sea's law attacks. I think all soul attacks should be ineffective against you, Yin Shi said with some emotion. You stand here and don't move. I will fly first and see how far we can sense each other. Yi Shang said to Yin Shi and then flew forward. He was looking for the perception distance. He wanted to know how far he could communicate with Yin Shi and how far he could still use his soul power. After flying for 120 miles, Yi Shang found that this was his limit. As long as he did not exceed this distance, he would be able to sense Yin Shi's soul fluctuations and thoughts. Yi Shang's thoughts could also be transmitted, but it would not work outside this range. Night Sorrow then told Yin Shi to follow 120 miles. In other words, the limit of our soul connection and communication is 120 miles. Yin Shi said when they arrived beside Night Sorrow. It's like this. If you go beyond this range, I can sense your position, but I can't sense your soul fluctuations and can't communicate with you. So, you have to pay attention to this distance in the future, Night Sorrow said. You mean that if I go beyond this distance, you will detonate your soul power, right? Yin Shi stared at Night Sorrow with her beautiful eyes. Why are you so fierce? I just asked you not to go beyond this distance. Are you going to run or what? Am I not treating you well? Night Sorrow was unhappy when he saw Yin Shi's fierce eyes. I won't go so far as to run away. I just want to know if you can still be merciless to me if I treat you like this. You can fight me whenever you want. You can do whatever you want. Yin Shi turned around and looked at Yi Shang. Don't ask like this. Some things will hurt our friendship and also hurt our reputation. I will treat you better, so you should be more honest. Night Sorrow exhaled and said, It seems that you really know how to fight. Yin Shi was a little disappointed. Chapter 773. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? I'll provide you with interesting novels to read. Not bad. I wasn't too ruthless. I thought you would do something evil to me, or do something ruthless to me. Love, go little say. Yin Shi's eyes became much gentler. Evil to me? Just think about it. Night Sorrow said and released the airship. He entered the airship and started to install the spiritual stones. After installing the spiritual stones, Night Sorrow controlled the airship to fly and sat down on the rattan chair. Yin Shi sat beside Night Sorrow. What do you mean? Are you saying that I'm not even a flower? Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi. I'm just joking. Why are you so upset? Let me tell you. When I was with you I was still a virgin. You can ignore it, but you can't insult me. Yin Shi was a little angry. Women cared about other people's comments. Night Sorrow meant that she was not even a flower. She couldn't accept it. If it was in the past, she would have slapped anyone who dared to say that to her. But now, only Night Sorrow could slap her. She didn't have the chance to slap Night Sorrow. I'm just joking. Aren't you tired of thinking so much? Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi and said, There are some things that I don't have to think about, but some things can't be done just because I don't want to. It's my instinct, Yin Shi said. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that for a woman, beauty was also a kind of dignity. It was no wonder that Yin Shi was so upset. After thinking it through, Night Sorrow smiled at Yin Shi. I'm just joking. You're very outstanding. Truth. Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and asked, Yeah, why would I lie to you? Night Sorrow nodded. I'll admit that I'm in your hands. I'll admit that my virginity is ruined. But you can't eat me and say that I don't taste good. You can't take advantage of me, Yin Shi said. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that he shouldn't provoke women. There were some things that couldn't be said. If you're angry, I won't even be able to drink tea? Night Sorrow asked. Are you angry too? Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Think about it yourself, Night Sorrow replied. Yin Shi knew that Yi Shang was unhappy because of her emotional display. Ignoring Yin Shi, he thought about Night Sorrow and decided not to meet Wu Lingfei, Xiaofan Jun, and the others. It wouldn't be good to leave after meeting them. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao, say www.aichuxs. So if it was Night Sorrow alone, he would be able to cultivate anywhere as he did not need to carry anyone. However, he could not do so with Yin Shi around. Therefore, he decided to go to the island where Yin Shi used to live because Yin Shi also needed to cultivate and consolidate her cultivation. When they arrived at their destination, he put away the flying ship. We don't need to set up camp. If we want to rest and recover, we can just enter the space-time pagoda. Okay, I'll listen to you. Inshi looked at Night Sorrow's face. She was still worried that Night Sorrow would be upset about what happened just now. Then, the two of them cultivated in the spatial turbulence of the realm C. The two of them, who had used up a lot of energy, went to the space-time pagoda to recover and consolidate their cultivation. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao, say www.aichuxs.com. Night Sorrow, I still want that, Inshi said with a red face. You don't have to lower yourself like this. I was wrong today, but you can't throw a tantrum at me, Night Sorrow said. Inshi nodded. I'll be careful in the future. Then, Night Sorrow meditated to recover. He didn't know how to deal with his relationship with Inshi now. If he said that he had subdued her through a contract, then with that layer of relationship, he felt that it was even more inappropriate to treat Night Sorrow as a servant girl because Inshi was reasonable and obedient. After recovering, Night Sorrow saw Inshi sitting there absent-mindedly. What's wrong? Nothing. Inshi shook her head. She shouted that she wanted it, but Night Sorrow ignored her. She felt that her relationship with Night Sorrow was going to reach an impasse. This wasn't what she wanted. Don't think too much. Recover well. I'm going to cultivate. When I come back to recover, we'll talk again. Night Sorrow could see that Inshi's emotions were fluctuating. She needed to calm down, so he planned to cultivate for a while before coming back. Night Sorrow fought the storm and the soul-devouring beast in the spatial turbulence for a while. Then, he entered the space-time pagoda. Seeing that Night Sorrow had returned, Inshi made a pot of hot tea. Hee, it seems like you've thought it through. Otherwise, where would I have hot tea to drink? Night Sorrow said with a smile. You're so narrow-minded. I'm a woman. Can't you understand women? Inshi said. Night Sorrow nodded. He felt that there was no need for him to be calculative with Inshi. It wasn't a matter of principle. Seeing that Night Sorrow nodded, Inshi smiled. She knew that today's small twists and turns were over. It wouldn't affect anything anymore. Is it funny? Night Sorrow looked at Inshi and asked. Inshi shook her head. It's not funny. But you can listen to what others say. You're easy to get along with. Do I want you to give it to me now? Although you've never been with a man, your methods are top-notch. I'm a man. Do you think I can reject you? Night Sorrow looked at Inshi speechlessly. The two of them went to the big bed. After an intense battle, Inshi began to assist Night Sorrow in his cultivation. 2 hours later, the two of them ended their cultivation. Night Sorrow put on his robes, but Inshi didn't move. Why aren't you cultivating? Night Sorrow asked. I'm a little tired now. There are some parts of my body that need to be relaxed. Inshi said with a red face. It was mainly because Night Sorrow's combat strength was too strong. The impact made her body a little uncomfortable. Inshi cultivated the wind origin body, but she didn't cultivate any external chapter. Some parts of her body were still weak and sensitive. Night Sorrow nodded and went to meditate. He wasn't an amateur in the matters between men and women. He knew some things. Then, the two of them began to cultivate in the spatial turbulence of the realm C. They consumed their cultivation and stabilized it. As time passed, the two of them went deeper and deeper. It even exceeded the area that Inshi could go deep in the past. In the violent spatial turbulence filled with the power of laws of saints was useless. They had to rely on their combat strength and movement techniques to survive. In the past, Inshi's cultivation level was high, but her body wasn't strong enough. She wasn't fast enough, so she couldn't go deep. Now, her cultivation level was lower, but her body's quality had improved. She was much faster and could continuously use the wind origin flash. Night Sorrow's spatial protective air shield had strong cutting power. He could find the gaps in the spatial turbulence. In addition, he could switch to the void protective air shield, which had strong defensive power. This was something that others couldn't do. In other words, Night Sorrow and Inshi had the ability to survive in the spatial turbulence that others couldn't. After the two of them recovered, Inshi said, Night Sorrow, can we go deeper? Can we try to get close to Clear Sky City? Faster, Q. It's true that we can go deeper, but we can't reach Clear Sky City. Therefore we have to be steady. When the spatial turbulence weakens, we will be the first to enter, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. He was really not in a hurry now. Chapter 774. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow thought for a while and nodded. Although there were no flaws in his body and the myriad Tao Tome's energy, after being nourished by Yin-Shi's wind origin body, his body would become more flexible and perfect. Also, Yin-Shi needed his cooperation to continue strengthening her wind origin body. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao, say www.aichuxs.com. After subduing Yin-Shi became obedient. Night Sorrow naturally wanted Yin-Shi to recover her cultivation as soon as possible and improve her strength as soon as possible. After getting comfortable and enjoying the nourishment of Yin-Shi's energy, Night Sorrow looked at Yin-Shi. How do you feel now? Very good. My body is getting closer and closer to perfection. However, there is no limit to this improvement. The only difference is whether the effect is strong or weak. Besides, after I recover to the level of a 4-star saint, it will be difficult for me to improve any further. After all, I need too much energy. Baidu search love, go xiao xua, www.aichuxs.com, Yin-Shi said. Night Sorrow nodded. He knew that there was a huge difference between the early and middle stages of a practitioner. The amount of energy needed to advance was also different. After pondering for a while, Night Sorrow asked about the issue of resources. He asked Yin-Shi if he could use resources to increase his cultivation. Yin-Shi shook her head. This was not a problem of resources. The main problem was that it would take a long time to stabilize. Otherwise, there would be a drawback of an unstable foundation. Then let's take it slow. In any case, you're a 4-star saint now. When you need to fight, it won't be a problem for you to withstand a 7-star saint. Love, go little, say, Night Sorrow was not in a hurry because he was not as anxious as before. He did not want Yin-Shi to ruin her foundation. After chatting for a while, Night Sorrow and Yin-Shi went back to the chaotic streams of space in the realm sea to cultivate. Both of them were fast and agile, so they had no problem surviving in the chaotic streams of space and could even improve their cultivation bases. As time went by, the distance between Night Sorrow and Yin-Shi was increasing. God knows how many space soul eater beasts were killed by the two of them. Entering the space-time treasure pagoda again, Night Sorrow drank the tea brewed by Yin-Shi and pondered. What are you thinking about? Yin-Shi sat across from Night Sorrow and asked. I'm wondering what kind of person could set up such a formation to seal Haotian City, Night Sorrow said. Who knows what happened 10,000 years ago? Don't think too much about it. If there's a chance, we'll go up. If there's no chance for us, then the others won't have a chance either, Yin-Shi said. She was very open-minded now. Night Sorrow planned to go back. He hadn't gone back in a long time. He wanted to go back and see if there was anything going on. Also, his myriad Tao Tome was going to level up. Yin-Shi didn't have any objections to Night Sorrow's decision. Even if she had any objections, she had to follow Night Sorrow's decision. However, Yin-Shi didn't want to go back. After going back, Night Sorrow would have to face some people and things. He wouldn't be able to cultivate with her all the time. She still needed his help now. Sitting on the airship, they arrived at the border of Haohai City's domain C. Night Sorrow put Yin-Shi into the space-time treasure pagoda and then put away the airship. He flew towards the teleportation array of Haohai City, and then directly teleported back to the Sky City. Yu Qing was very happy to see Night Sorrow back. She hadn't seen her son for many years and was separated during this period. She couldn't let go of her son. During dinner, Night Sorrow asked the girls about their cultivation. He was relieved when he found out that they had no problems. Then, the family went to the lake to drink tea. Night Sorrow asked Tianyu, who had transformed into a human, about his cultivation and whether he needed any resources. Tianyu shook his head. He meant that he could cultivate. His green rock body's ability to absorb the energy of heaven and earth was very strong. Yu Qing asked about Night Sorrow's situation. Night Sorrow told her that he had gone to the domain C to cultivate. He also told her the specific details. It's really a chaotic world. Son, you must be careful. Don't try to be brave. Yu Qing looked at her son with some worry. Night Sorrow nodded. He naturally had to listen to his mother's words. In addition, He didn't plan to cultivate in the near future. Knight Sorrow had gone to the domain C a while ago. One reason was to check out the situation. Another reason was that she needed to consolidate her cultivation. The spatial turbulence in the domain C was the best place for she to consolidate her cultivation. Next, she would need to cultivate steadily. On the second day, while Knight Sorrow was cultivating his spear art, Yilinghuan came. "Grandpa is here." Knight Sorrow put away the space splitter spear and poured a cup of tea for Yilinghuan. "Okay. How are your preparations?" "The family still needs a month. We can take action in a month," Yilinghuan said. "Good. I'll arrange the 7-star sage problem. I'll give Grandpa news in a month." Knight Sorrow nodded to Yilinghuan. "If there are any problems, you can tell Grandpa. Don't force it," Yilinghuan said to Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow shook his head and then chatted with Yilinghuan for a while. Yilinghuan left, and Knight Sorrow returned to the space-time treasure pagoda. "Shi, you know the situation. When can we take action?" "Half a month. If I cultivate diligently, my wind essence body can reach the small perfection realm in half a month. My cultivation will also be more condensed and can reach the late stage of the 4-star sage," Shi said. Knight Sorrow thought for a moment and felt that it was inconvenient for him to assist Shi in her cultivation. He had to inform his family and find a place where there was no one around. He would do his best to assist Shi in increasing her strength and then kill the 7-star saint. After learning that Knight Sorrow was going to leave, Yu Qing and Sikong Chuyu were not too willing because Knight Sorrow had only been back for 2 days. "Mother, Chuyu, senior sisters, the Night Moon dynasty is about to come back. A battle is unavoidable. I'll go and find out the news. I'll be back in a month at most." Knight Sorrow naturally could not say that he was going to find trouble with the 7-star sage. In such a situation, Yu Qing and the 3 girls naturally could not stop him. After leaving the city in the sky, Knight Sorrow went to the mansion in the Tai Ching domain and then entered the space-time pagoda. "Shi, do you know where the 7-star sage will be staying?" Knight Sorrow looked at Shi and asked. "This is very simple. When I'm ready, we'll go to the 7-star dynasty's 7-star city. If the 7-star sage is in the 7-star city, then there's nothing to say. If he's not, then we'll attack the 7-star dynasty's monarch. If we can't, then we'll kill him directly. The 7-star sage will naturally come out," Shi said. "A Yong 6x long dx free %. Phi n0g small v said. Knight Sorrow nodded. He knew that this method was very rough, but it would be very effective. The 7-star sage had no choice but to come out. "Then you have to do your best to help me cultivate now." Shi looked at Knight Sorrow and said with a red face. At this moment, in the 7-star palace of the 7-star dynasty's 7-star city, a middle-aged man sat on the main seat. An old man stood beside him, and below them stood 2 rows of the 7-star dynasty's higher-ups. Chapter 775. Genius Remembers Love in 1 second/small? We provide you with interesting novels to read. Old Ancestor, is the matter so serious? You're a mid-level saint. There's no need for us to be afraid of the Night Moon dynasty. Xing Batian said. You pig brain, you need to think more about everything. If the Night Moon dynasty was easy to deal with, how could it have lasted for so many years? Do you think the other dynasties don't have any saints? The Sky Wind dynasty's Tai Yuan saint, Chan Yuan, may be a 5-star saint, but his strength is mediocre. There are many things he doesn't know. If he knew some things, he wouldn't touch the Night Moon dynasty even if he had 10 times the guts. 7-star Saint Xing Mingi roared at Xing Batian. Old Ancestor, is the matter so serious? Xing Lo, who was standing below, asked. AI. Moon Emperor Yi Tian is the #1 person in the Tai Ching domain. If he didn't have true strength, do you think the saints of the other dynasties would acknowledge him? Would no one step forward to take down his title? Only that pig Chen Yuan doesn't know anything and dares to do anything. The main thing is that there are too few people who know the truth. This seat is also one of the few who know the truth. Xing Mingi sighed. Old Ancestor, what's going on? Not to mention Xing Lo, even Xing Batian was confused. Then Xing Mingi said that he had seen Yi Tian twice. The first time was 1,000 years ago. At that time, he couldn't see Yi Tian's cultivation. 300 years ago, He saw Yi Tian at the invincible venerable realm, but he knew that it was a soul doppelganger. Then if Yi Tian appears again, it will be a disaster for our dynasties? Xing Baishan's face changed. Xing Mingyi nodded. He was now thinking about how to deal with this matter. Should he cede land and apologize, or should he continue to endure? And, first $N ceding land, compensating, and apologizing could guarantee that the 7-star dynasty would not be destroyed. However, it would be embarrassing and there would be a lot of losses. However, if the 7-star dynasty could not take it anymore, it would be the end of the 7-star dynasty. Then could it be that Yi Tian's lifespan has run out and he's already dead? Xing Batian whispered. Bullshit. Even if your lifespan runs out, his lifespan won't. However, since he hasn't appeared for so long, there should be a problem. He should have gone to another dimension, and it's unknown if he can come back. The crux of the problem now is whether we should reconcile with the Night Moon dynasty or continue to hold on, which is to bet on whether Yi Tian will appear again. Xing Mingyi directly expressed his inner struggle. The Night Moon Empire has already been destroyed. Is there a need for us to reconcile? Besides, we will lose a lot of face. Love, go little, say, Xing Batian said. Do you know that Yi Linghuan led his people to retreat to the Night Moon sky? There are still a few emperors alive. Once they touch the power of rules, even without the Night Moon sky, our great dynasties will not be able to withstand them. Xing Mingyi said. Xing Batian nodded and didn't say anything. Yi Linghuan was an undefeatable king. His talent was outstanding, and his battle prowess was shocking. Once he broke through to the Saint Realm, it would be a big problem. Let me think about this first. One wrong step and it will be a disaster. 7-star Saint said. Night Sorrow accompanied Yin Shi to cultivate. As long as Yin Shi needed it, he would cooperate with her. However, Yin Shi was very considerate of Night Sorrow. She only needed Night Sorrow once a day, and rarely twice. Half a month later, Yin Shi nodded to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow, my Wind Yuan body has reached the small success stage. My Zhen Qi cultivation is also at the late stage of the 4-star Saint realm. I can fight. Then let's go, but you have to change your clothes and hair color. Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi and said. No need. My Wind Yuan body has reached the small perfection stage. I can change my hair color at any time. Yin Shi said. At the same time, energy circulated in her hair, and her silver hair turned black. This is also very good. Very quiet and has a different temperament. However, it's less flirtatious. 2 different styles. Night Sorrow said. Then which style of mine do you like? Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and asked. If there's no one, then do it here. Silver hair has a different style. It's outside. Black hair looks dignified and elegant. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said. Then I'll do as you say. When I go out, I'll change my hair back to black. When I come back, I'll change my hair back to silver. Yin Shi said to Night Sorrow. Hey, you're so obedient. I can't not treat you well. Then we'll set off. Also, when you fight with 7-star Saint, if you can fight, then fight. If you can't, then we'll retreat. I can let Night Moon Dynasty delay the battle. Night Sorrow said to Yin Shi. Don't worry. During this period of time, you've been assisting me in my cultivation. My cultivation has returned from the 7th level Saint Realm to the 4th level Saint Realm. It's my first battle. I have to win some face for myself. Yin Shi said. Then, Night Sorrow put on the God-slaying team's mask. Yin Shi and Night Sorrow also put on their veils. They left the mansion and headed towards 7-star City. After leaving the 7-star City's teleportation array, Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and said, You have to be careful. If 7-star Saint is here, I won't have the energy to take care of you when I'm fighting with him. There must be a peak-level Saint here. Yin Shi, put the space-time pagoda on you. If I'm in danger, I'll pounce on you and hide. So, as long as you're fine, I'll be fine. Night Sorrow shrunk the space-time pagoda and handed it to Yin Shi. Yin Shi took the space-time pagoda and pinned it on her belt. Okay, you've already practiced the skill of pouncing on me to the point of perfection. There shouldn't be any danger. Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi speechlessly. He realized that Yin Shi's attitude had changed. She no longer had that gloomy and cold aura. She had become much more cheerful. Then, the two of them walked towards the 7-star palace. That was the core of 7-star dynasty. When the two of them arrived at the square, some people appeared in the 7-star palace. The one leading them was Xing Mingi. "Which saint are you?" Xing Mingi looked at Yin Shi and asked. However, his gaze also landed on Night Sorrow. Normally, Night Sorrow's 4-star saint cultivation wouldn't attract Xing Mingi's attention. However, Night Sorrow's blood was surging and his vital essence was soaring into the sky. He had no choice but to pay attention to him. "I don't want to talk too much. You're in the way. I'm here to kill you today." Yin Shi waved her right hand and the flowing wind sword appeared in her hand. "I didn't provoke you, did I? Besides, you're a 4-star saint and you want to kill me. Isn't that a joke?" Xing Mingi said. "Today, I'll kill a 5-star saint for you to see." Yin Shi turned her head and looked at Night Sorrow because her words were directed at Night Sorrow. After saying that, Yin Shi's body shook and a ray of light came out of her body. Then, she appeared in front of Xing Mingi. The flowing wind sword slashed towards Xing Mingi with a sword ray that tore the space apart. "Who are you?" Xing Mingi retreated. At the same time, he took out a broadsword and stabbed it toward Yin Shi's flowing wind sword. However, Yin Shi had already changed the direction of her sword. The sharp sword qi slashed toward Xing Mingi's side. At the same time, the power of the rules of feng shui had already shrouded Xing Mingi. Chapter 776. Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second/Small? We provide you with interesting novels to read. Did the 7-star dynasty offend someone they shouldn't? Tell us and we can solve it, Xing Mingi said. Don't talk nonsense with him. Let's kill him first. Night Sorrow could see that the 7-star sage was no match for Yin Shi. Silver's true qi wasn't as dense as Xing Mingi's, but Yin Shi was too fast. Xing Mingi could only defend passively. You're courting death. Xing Batian roared and rushed towards Night Sorrow. He could see that Xing Mingi wasn't a match for Yin Shi. Xing Mingi cultivated the 7-star mixed yuan technique. His body was strong and his strength was ferocious. However, Yin Shi didn't fight him head-on. She relied on her speed to fight. Xing Mingi couldn't use his strength. Night Sorrow smiled. A bunch of shameless people. Is this how the 7-star dynasty does things? Let's continue to play until your 7-star dynasty is destroyed. After speaking, Night Sorrow communicated with the Time Pagoda. His body propped up a protective shield. Then he charged towards Yin Shi with a slash and entered the Time Pagoda. Yin Shi, if you can fight, then fight. Don't let them surround you, Night Sorrow communicated with Yin Shi. How dare you surround me? I'll kill you with 1 slash. Yin Shi said. Not only did Night Sorrow hear it, but the people from the 7-star dynasty also heard it. They didn't dare to surround her anymore. You're not a 4-star sage. Your power of law and speed aren't something a 4-star sage should have. Why did you suppress your cultivation to kill me? Don't you feel ashamed? Being surrounded by Yin Shi, Xing Mingi roared. He couldn't keep up with her speed. His protective shield was shattered time and time again. It consumed a lot of energy. Then, you're attacking the Night Moon dynasty together with a sage. Aren't you ashamed? Someone asked me to kill you. You should understand. Yin Shi broke Xing Mingi's protective shield with another slash. She even cut a bloody wound on Xing Mingi's body. The sword qi entered his body and started to destroy it. This was the advantage of speed. In addition, the saint-level sword Flowing Wind Sword was also extremely powerful and could increase the power of the sword qi. It's because of what happened back then. Can't we reconcile? Xing Mingi shouted. No way. Why didn't you make peace earlier? Now that they're here, you want to make peace? Yin Shi roared and continued to attack Xing Mingi from all directions. The sword qi that broke through his protective qi cover continued to enter Xing Mingi's body. The constant destruction caused by the sword qi made Xing Mingi's condition worse and worse. He couldn't run away even if he wanted to. Yin Shi's speed was at least twice as fast as his, and she was attacking him from all directions. The battle went on for 15 minutes, and Xing Mingi was struck in the back. The sword qi directly penetrated his body. The 7-star saint coughed out a mouthful of blood and roared, King, the 7-star dynasty will depend on you. Reconcile, No matter what the request is, we will reconcile. After hearing the seven-star saint's words, Knight Sorrow hesitated for a moment. Then, he asked Shi to stop. Since the seven-star saint kept asking for reconciliation, he wanted to see what the seven-star saint had to say. If it wasn't necessary, he didn't want the saint of the 9 zones to die. After Shi retreated, Knight Sorrow's body flashed out of the space-time pagoda. Shi stood half a step behind Knight Sorrow. Knight Sorrow, now that he's severely injured, we can kill him at any time. Let's see what he has to say. If it wasn't necessary, I really don't want to see the saint of the 9 zones die. Moreover, he kept asking for reconciliation. I'm not too willing to kill him. Knight Sorrow told Shi the reason why she stopped. Hearing the name Knight Sorrow, the faces of the higher-ups of the 7-star dynasty who were standing on the other side changed. Knight Sorrow, you still came. I'm also a member of the Tianji Tower. Now that my family has reconciled, let's talk, okay? Star Tiger stood out. Love, go little, say Wang, Chu, Star Tiger, because you're a man, I don't have a bad impression of the 7-star dynasty. However, back then, you joined forces with several other dynasties to destroy the Night Moon dynasty. This grudge must be resolved. Knight Sorrow looked at Star Tiger and said, Say it. What do you want us to do? Star Batian stood out and said, You guys discuss first and show me your sincerity. I'll see if it's possible. If it's not enough, then there's nothing I can do. Star Tiger, we're both members of the Tianji Tower. I've given you face, but we must seek justice for the Night Moon dynasty. Knight Sorrow looked at Star Tiger and said, If we can't satisfy you, then we'll continue. He's a grasshopper in our hands. We can kill him at any time. Shi nodded at Knight Sorrow. Then, Star Batian helped Xing Mingi to the side. They began to discuss how to reconcile. After a while, the 7-star dynasty finished their discussion. Star Batian, Xing Mingi, and Star Tiger also came over. Our 7-star dynasty will return all the cities of the Night Moon dynasty and be responsible for the construction of the cities. In addition, we'll take out some resources as compensation. The compensation will be 5 years of our 7-star dynasty's income. Star Batian said. On this basis, I still have some things to say. First of all, those who participated in the war back then must go to the tombstone of the ancestors of the Night Moon dynasty and burn incense to repent. Second, the 7-star dynasty must not interfere in the war between the Night Moon dynasty and the other dynasties. Knight Sorrow looked at Star Batian and Xing Mingi and said, Okay, we'll do it. Star Batian nodded at Knight Sorrow. That's good. I'm not afraid of you going back on your words. I hope you won't give me a reason to come back. Actually, I'm not very willing to reconcile, but I have to consider the overall situation of the 9 regions. Also, reconciliation is my personal idea. I still have to report to the Night Moon dynasty. They'll have a final decision after a discussion. Knight Sorrow said. Then, Star Batian and Xing Mingi both agreed to Knight Sorrow's request. Seal off today's news. If the Night Moon dynasty agrees to reconcile, we'll take over the cities when the time is right. Knight Sorrow glanced at the heavily injured Xing Mingi and said. Xing Mingi nodded. Right now, he wasn't qualified to negotiate, and neither was the 7-star dynasty. Let's go. Knight Sorrow nodded at Shi and left. After taking a dozen steps, Knight Sorrow turned to Star Tiger and said, You owe me another favor. I'll remember. Star Tiger cupped his hands at Knight Sorrow. Then, Knight Sorrow and Shi left the 7-star palace. Xing Mingi spat out another mouthful of blood. He knew that the 7-star dynasty had dodged a calamity, but the other dynasties were facing a disaster. As for reconciliation, Knight Sorrow said it was his personal idea. He felt that Knight Sorrow's idea was similar to Night Moon's idea. Old ancestor, are you all right? Star Batian asked while supporting Xing Mingi. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, sigh. I shouldn't have hesitated previously. If I had reconciled directly, there wouldn't be today's embarrassment. The Night Moon dynasty isn't to be trifled with. Just now, that woman used her 4-star saint cultivation to crush me, a 5-star saint. She's too terrifying. She even listens to orders. Xing Mingi sighed and spat out another mouthful of blood. Yin Shi's sword qi was still churning in his body. Why would a saint listen to the orders of a sovereign? Star Batian didn't understand. Chapter 777. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. A follower of a saint. Tianji Tower won't arrange a saint to follow him, right? Xing Batian helped Xing Mingi walk towards the 7 Stars Hall while arranging for people to seal off the news. Tianji Tower has a few new saints recently, but there is only one veteran saint, the Wuji saint. There is no one who matches that female saint. Star Tiger, that young man, Night Sorrow, is unbeatable. Not to mention that he has a saint as his follower. He is a level 4 venerable himself. His spiritual qi is soaring to the sky, and his future is limitless. Xing Mingi reminded Star Tiger. Night Sorrow was very happy. He brought Yin Shi to a restaurant and asked for a private room. He ordered a table full of dishes and 2 jars of good wine. The 7 star saints have been dealt with. The Night Moon dynasty can come back to fight. If another saint appears, we'll fight again. It's fast, and the feeling of fighting is great. Yin Shi took off her veil and said. Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi and said, You are addicted to killing. Thank you very much. If you have any requests, just tell me. If I can do it for you, I will do it. What's the point of making a request? Isn't everything I have already yours? What do I have now? Yin Shi said, but she didn't look depressed. Look forward to my cultivation surpassing yours. Once I surpass you, I will withdraw my soul power and give you freedom. Yi Shan thought for a moment and made his decision. Let's go. Yi Shan thought for a moment and made his decision. Why did you make such a decision? Yin Shi was stunned. After spending some time with you, I've realized that you're not that bad. However, I can't let you go now. If you want to take revenge, the Night Moon dynasty won't be able to withstand your vengeance. I can't risk the safety of the people around me. Night Sorrow spoke his mind. I can understand your mentality. Actually, it's not a big deal. You're full of justice deep down. Some of the things that happened between us weren't out of your own will. You're not treating me badly right now. We can talk about the future in the future. However, I hope that you can give me some space when the time is right. I swear I won't run away. Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow and raised her hand to make a vow. Perhaps no one cared about the oaths of mortals, but the oaths of cultivators to the Tao of the heavens were something no one cared about or valued. Cultivators were going against the will of the heavens. They were fighting against the will of the heavens. If they went against the will of the heavens, karma would descend upon them. Heart demons and lightning tribulations would appear. In addition, their soul and state of mind would be tainted. The consequences were very serious. Look at the chapter S section W above O/authentic version. Night Sorrow nodded. Then, he and Yin Shi ate and drank to their heart's content. The two of them walked towards the teleportation array. When they arrived at the teleportation array, Night Sorrow realized that the 7-star city was under martial law. The teleportation array had been sealed. The person guarding the teleportation array was Princess Xinglo of the 7 Stars dynasty. Xinglo looked at Night Sorrow and Yin Shi furiously. Night Sorrow was wearing the mask that he wore when he went to the 7 Stars palace. Yin Shi was wearing a veil, which was also her battle attire. What are you looking at? I want to teleport. Night Sorrow frowned and lifted his chin towards the teleportation array. Move aside. Let them teleport. Xinglo was furious because Night Sorrow and Yin Shi had smashed the dignity of the 7 Stars dynasty into pieces. Night Sorrow didn't care about Xinglo's attitude. Cultivation? Xinglo had the cultivation of a level 6 supremacy. Night Sorrow had the ability to fight. In terms of appearance and figure, he had seen many outstanding women. None of the women in his family were inferior to Xinglo. What kind of man is he to hide his head and shrink his tail? Xinglo muttered. Whether he is a man or not, I know that. It's none of your business. Glancing at Xinglo, Yin Shi ignored Night Sorrow who Xinglo and took the teleportation array to leave the 7-star city. Night Sorrow didn't care about Xinglo's provocation at all because it was meaningless. However, Yin Shi was unhappy when she heard it. She directly retorted with a sentence that made Xinglo dumbfounded. Do you have to be so angry with him? Night Sorrow said after they were teleported to Tai Ching City and exited the teleportation array. As for whether you are a man or not, what kind of nonsense is that? She muttered. At the 7-star city's teleportation array, Xinglo was still in a daze. Night Sorrow didn't retaliate, but Shi's counterattack was too powerful. A saintess said that she knew whether Night Sorrow was a man or not. This counterattack was too strong. And what's wrong? Can't you figure it out? Actually, if he was so calculative, our 7 Stars dynasty would be in ruins now. Star Tiger walked over and said. Xinglo nodded. She knew that this was the truth. As long as they couldn't stop Shi, the 7 Stars dynasty would be massacred. She also knew that Night Sorrow stopped because he was looking at the big picture and also because he was giving face to Star Tiger. Maybe there are many people from the 7 Stars dynasty who can't accept defeat and have hatred in their hearts. Aunt might also have hatred in her heart. However, I don't hate. What our 7 Stars dynasty did in the past was indeed disgraceful. Star Tiger looked at Xinglo and said, hatred is meaningless. You have to pay back what you owe. However, strength determines everything. If you have a big fist, who dares to collect what you owe? If you have a big fist, who dares to not pay back the debt? Xinglo also had a set of principles in her heart. Star Tiger smiled. He knew that this matter didn't affect Xinglo much. Night Sorrow arrived at the mansion in the Tai Ching domain and put Shi into the space-time pagoda. Then, he teleported back to the city in the sky and went to Yi Linghuan's residence. He still wanted to tell Yi Linghuan about this matter. He was the one who made the decision to reconcile. He didn't know if Yi Linghuan would accept it. If he didn't, he would really be slapping himself in the face. In the attic where Yi Linghuan lived, Night Sorrow saw Yi Linghuan, Night God Kuang, and Night God Thunder. Night Sorrow is here. Sit. Night God Thunder greeted. Night Sorrow bowed to the 3 of them and sat down. What's the situation now? Night Moon is ready. We can start the war in 3 days. Yi Linghuan looked at Night Sorrow and asked. I made a decision on my own today. Please forgive me, Grandpa and great-uncles. Night Sorrow stood up and bowed to Yi Linghuan and the others. Then, he talked about how he had severely injured the 7-star saint and accepted the reconciliation with the 7-star dynasty. Night Sorrow, you didn't do anything wrong in this matter. The 7-star dynasty wasn't the mastermind back then. Killing people is just a matter of nodding their heads. They admit that they are in trouble. They admit that they are in trouble. They admit that they are in trouble until Night Moon offers incense and sacrifices. They admit that they are in trouble. Yi Linghuan said to Night Sorrow. Grandpa, there are still some things that I didn't say. Right now, the 9 domains are in great danger. The 9 domains' peak combat power can't be lost easily. Night Sorrow then talked about the Supreme River Space, the Netherworld, and Clear Sky City. He also talked about some of his own speculations. Linghuan, it seems that we have to work hard on our clan's land in the Night Moon Sea. If the 9 domains are in danger, the Night Clan will have a place to retreat, Night God Thunder said. That's necessary. However, we still have to fight. After all, the news from the 7-star dynasty can't be sealed. Let's take down the Golden Dragon King dynasty first, then the Green Nether dynasty, and finally the strongest Red Leaf dynasty, Yi Linghuan said. Night God Thunder and Night God Kuang nodded. They had to take revenge for the destruction of the Night Moon dynasty. However, they didn't ask how Night Sorrow had dealt with the 7-star saint. If Night Sorrow wanted to say, he would. If he didn't want to say, it would be inconvenient. Chapter 778. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Night Sorrow returned to the mansion and met with Yu Qing and the 3 girls. Love, go little, say W. Chu. Night Sorrow. The Battle of Night Moon's revenge will begin in 3 days. Follow me. Don't be separated. Yu Qing said. She knew that her son was strong, but she was still worried. Okay, I'll stay by your side. Night Sorrow nodded. Yu Qing was worried about him, but he was also worried about his mother's safety. Our Night Clan has already gathered on Night Moon. We'll fight in 3 days. Yi Wuyo also came to the mansion. Night Sorrow and the 3 girls stood up and bowed. You guys chat first. I'll go and make arrangements for the battle. It's fine if we don't fight, but if we do, we have to be decisive. Yi Wuyo came over to see his son. He still had a lot of things to do. Then we'll follow you all the way, mother, Yonglei said. Why don't you guys wait in the city in the sky? Night Sorrow was a little worried. After all, the three girls were all below the venerable realm. Such a battle would still be dangerous. We're engaged, and we're also from Night Moon. Naturally, we can't just watch others fight and do nothing, Sikong Chuyu also said. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow nodded. The three girls would be safe with him. If there was really a situation that they couldn't handle, Xueshi could help. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao, say www.aichuxs. So for the next 3 days, the Taiqing domain was very quiet. No one knew that the experts of the Night Moon dynasty had left the Night Moon Sea and were ready to go. On the fixed date, Night Sorrow and Yu Qing left the mansion with Sikong Chuyu, the three girls, and Tianyu. When the group approached the training grounds, they were stopped by the members of the God-slaying squad. A group of people blocked Night Sorrow's path. Captain, isn't your business our business? Fortunately, we overheard Elder Ling Lan's conversation. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known that you were going to abandon us and fight by yourself. Ho Jian said as he looked at Night Sorrow. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao, say www.aichuxs.com. This is my family's business. I can't drag my brothers into this, Night Sorrow said. The matters of our brothers are our matters. You have always treated us as brothers and fought for us. Now that you are in trouble, you cast us aside. That's not appropriate. This time, we are fighting for our brothers, Ho Jian said. Fight for our brothers. Fight for our brothers. Yong Ek Jio 7 free our fee dollar look. Little AJ says and the members of the God-slaying team knocked on their breastplates in response to Ho Jian's words. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go. Night Sorrow nodded at the group. AI Gog shout say, Ku after hearing Night Sorrow's words, the members of the God-slaying squad stepped aside and followed behind Night Sorrow and the others. After the group arrived at the teleportation array, they began to teleport towards the Night Moon City. Night Moon City was solemn. Warriors in black armor stood on both sides of the street. Yesterday, Yi Linghuan had officially appeared and announced the return of the Yi clan. Today, the battle for revenge would begin. Night Sorrow and Yu Qing led the group to the Night Moon City. Many people had already gathered on the Night Moon City. Yi Linghuan introduced the other two emperors to Night Sorrow. One of them was Night Sorrow's great-grandfather, Yi Shenxian. He was the previous ruler of the Night Moon dynasty. The other one was Night Sorrow's great-aunt, Yi Xinyue. She was also the only empress of the Night Moon dynasty. There were also a few other princes who had appeared on the Night Moon City. Behind the Yi clan were the Night Moon Iron Guards. Yi Linghuan had arranged for Yi Linglan and Yi Lingyuan to assemble the old subordinates of the Night Moon City. In the past, Night Sorrow hadn't noticed. Now, he realized that there were over 10,000 Night Moon Iron Guards. From the Night Moon City to the Night Moon City, there were Night Moon Iron Guards on both sides of the road. Then, Yi Shenxian led the Yi clan to burn incense. Then, Night Moon's emperors and princes put on the king's battle armor. Because she was a concubine and a high-level venerable, Yu Qing also put on the king's battle armor. Night Sorrow, come here. Yi Shenxian waved at Night Sorrow. Greetings, great-grandfather. Night Sorrow bowed. You are Night Moon's young master. A mid-level venerable should also have a title. However, I haven't asked for your opinion. The title will be delayed for a while. However, you are qualified to wear the king's battle armor. Ling Huan, put the king's battle armor on Night Sorrow. Yi Shenxian waved his hand. Yi Linghuan personally put the king's battle armor on Night Sorrow. Ling Huan, you make the arrangements for the following matters. Yi Shenxian walked down the stage and handed the task of presiding over the overall situation to Yi Linghuan. Yi Shenxian was currently the most senior member of Night Moon. He was also the previous generation's leader. Thus, he presided over the ceremony. The following matters of the battle were arranged by Yi Linghuan. Then, Yi Linghuan announced the battle plan. First, they would attack the Golden Dragon King's empire. They would directly attack the core of the Golden Dragon King's empire, the Golden Dragon City. The battle plan was similar to Knight Soro's previous city extermination battles. After controlling the teleportation array, they would directly attack the Golden Dragon Imperial Palace. The personnel arrangement was that some venerables would lead Night Moon's Iron Guards to advance from the outer cities. The Yi clan's emperors and powerful people would directly attack the Golden Dragon City. Knight Soro also asked for battle. He wanted to lead the god-slaying team to attack the Golden Dragon City. Yi Linghuan thought for a moment and agreed. After all, Night Moon's young master should be present for such a big battle. In addition, Yi Linghuan knew that Knight Soro had a big secret. Otherwise, he would not have been able to deal with the 7-star saint. He would also be useful at the crucial moment. As Night Moon's battle flag was waved, the Night Moon Empire's revenge war began. The core members of the battle teleported to Taiching City and then to the Golden Dragon City. The Yi clan's emperors took over the teleportation array. Then, the others teleported over one after another. Normally, the teleportation array of the Imperial City could not be used for war. However, the rules of Taiching Imperial City were chaotic. The City Lord and Deputy City Lord's residents were not in charge. How could some elders control the current situation? Brother Ling Xia, guard the teleportation array. The rest of you, set off for the Golden Dragon Imperial Palace. Yi Linghuan led his men and flew towards the Golden Dragon King Imperial Palace. Those who tried to stop him by the side of the road were directly killed by the sword Qi. In a moment, Night Moon's men arrived in front of the Golden Dragon Imperial Palace. At this time, people came out of the Golden Dragon Imperial Palace. With such a big lineup, how could the Golden Dragon King Imperial Palace not notice? Yi Linghuan. The Golden Dragon King Imperial King Jin Yao's expression changed when he saw Yi Linghuan. You didn't expect to see this king again, right? Yi Linghuan looked at Jin Yao coldly. You're a saint. Jin Yao's expression was very ugly. Because the Golden Dragon King Imperial Palace did not have a saint, they could not stop Night Moon's men who were led by a saint. It's time to settle the score. You should have thought of this day when you ambushed Night Moon Imperial Palace. Kill. Yi Linghuan moved. With a wave of his left hand, the power of laws pressed down on Jin Yao. At the same time, his right hand slashed in front of him. A spatial blade cut through the sky and slashed towards Jin Yao. Knight Soro also moved. He raised a protective barrier and charged towards the Golden Dragon King Imperial Palace. The members of the god-slaying team followed closely behind Knight Soro. At the same time, Night Moon's Emperor, Yi Wuyo, and Yu Qing all charged towards the Golden Dragon Imperial Palace. The hatred from the battle back then was too deep. Night Moon had lost too many family members. Chapter 779. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Yu Qing had been following behind Knight Soro. She didn't care about how many opponents she killed, but she cared about her son's safety. Love, go little, say, Netka. Knight Soro waved his reincarnation spear and led the god-slaying team to attack the Golden Dragon King's crowd. The cultivation of the members of the god-slaying team was a little low, but their joint combat ability was strong. Even venerables were killed. Not to mention the beginner venerables, Yun Huang, Ling Long, and Liang Yu formed a formation to resist the intermediate venerables, so the pressure was not great. The more Yu Qing watched, the more shocked she became. Not to mention the members of the god-slaying team, Knight Soro's combat strength was too strong. Not to mention his fast speed, the strength of his attacks was also extremely domineering. Intermediate venerables were also repelled by him. After Yi Linghuan killed Jin Yao, the battle came to an end. The main reason was that the people from the Night Moon dynasty were too strong this time. They were led by a saint and an invincible venerable. The 3 peak venerables of the Golden Dragon King's dynasty were not enough to kill them. After the battle, someone counted the spoils. Then, Yi Linghuan waved his arm, and the Night Moon dynasty's flag was placed on the top of the Golden Dragon King's palace, announcing that this was the territory of the Night Moon dynasty. After asking Night God Thunder to guard this place, Yi Linghuan sent someone to connect the teleportation array to the Golden Dragon King City and the Night Moon City. Then, he arranged for everyone to gather here in 6 hours and arranged for everyone to be teleported to each city to start the battle. The tactic adopted by the Night Moon dynasty was the same as the one used by Tianji Tower to destroy the Tianfeng dynasty. It was a thunderous tactic, a tactic where the strong fought the weak. If the two sides were about the same, they would usually push forward. If they were stronger, they could use the thunderous tactic to kill the leader. Knight Sorrow led the god-slaying team to destroy Dragon Tail City. There were no experts in Dragon Tail City, so Knight Sorrow and the others took it down easily. Yu Qing, who was following them, did not even need to do anything. Knight Sorrow gave all the resources to Yu Qing. This was the Battle of Night Moon Dynasty, so the god-slaying team naturally did not take the spoils of war. Moreover, the god-slaying team did not lack of resources. The god-slaying team did not burn the cities either because the Night Moon Dynasty still had to rule over the cities. They were their own. 3 hours later, Yi Yu's troops gathered in front of the Golden Dragon Palace again. Only 2 groups suffered light injuries, which did not affect the rest of the battle at all. The Night Moon Dynasty's Iron Guards had already taken over the cities, but each city still lacked a leader. They did not continue fighting because the news could no longer be kept under wraps. Both the Qingming Dynasty and the Red Leaf Dynasty would be prepared. Since the Blitzkrieg was ineffective, the next step was a direct confrontation. The Night Moon Dynasty was not afraid of a direct confrontation. On the other hand, the Night Moon Dynasty was not in a hurry. First, they would take over and stabilize the Golden Dragon King Dynasty's territory. Knight Sorrow led the deicide squad and found a residence to rest. Yu Qing followed along. Yi Shang brewed a pot of tea, poured a cup for Yu Qing, and said with a smile, "Mother, you're following me everywhere. You child, you go crazy when you fight. Why did you go so deep into the battlefield? Group battles are different from individual battles. You have to consider how to coordinate and rescue each other," Yu Qing said as she looked at Knight Sorrow. She was very worried, but she couldn't bear to scold her son. The Night Moon Dynasty entered a period of rest. However, the Tai Qing domain was in chaos. The former number 1 dynasty of the Tai Qing domain had returned and defeated the Golden Dragon King dynasty in one battle. This announced that the situation of the Tai Qing domain would change again. The Qingming dynasty sent people to contact the 7-star dynasty. However, the 7-star dynasty's upper echelons did not appear. The upper echelons of the Qingming dynasty and the Red Leaf dynasty met to discuss this matter. However, no one knew the situation of the 7-star dynasty. No matter who went to request an audience, the upper echelons were in seclusion. However, the Red Leaf dynasty calmed down. The news of the battle had attracted a saint, a 5-star saint. Night Moon Dynasty. Do they think the Tai Qing domain is a place where they can do whatever they want? I've been in secluded meditation for hundreds of years just for this day. Let them fight first. If they don't fight, we'll fight. Inside the main hall of the Imperial Palace, an old man in an embroidered robe covered with maple leaves said. The Qingming dynasty was not too afraid. They were currently in an alliance with the Red Leaf dynasty. As long as the Night Moon dynasty attacked, the Red Leaf dynasty would definitely support them. Xiaofan and the others on the island in the Realm Sea also heard the news. I didn't expect the battle to progress so quickly, Xiaofan said with some emotion. Our people received news that a few days before this battle, a battle broke out in the 7-star dynasty. The 7-star sacred planet, Mingi, was defeated by a 4-star saint and was severely injured. This is directly related to the 7-star dynasty's current inactivity, Guo said. What's the specific situation? Lin Yuandao asked. It's a saintess who hasn't appeared before. Her black hair draped over her shoulders and she wore a veil. I've never heard of such a saint. The other key point is that the one who appeared with this saintess was the young master of the Tianji Tower, Guo said again. When did this guy get to know a saint? Xiaofan stood up. Wu Lingfei also fell into deep thought. She didn't understand what was going on. She had always known about Knight Sorrow's situation, but now a saintess who could fight above her level had suddenly appeared. She didn't know at all. There's also a 5-star saint in the Red Leaf dynasty who calls himself Thousand Leaf Saint, Guo said. Isn't the 7-star saint also a 5-star saint? Knight Sorrow can deal with the 7-star saint, so Thousand Leaf Saint naturally won't affect Night Moon's revenge. Let's wait and see, Xiaofan said after thinking for a while. Elder Xia, I want to go and take a look, Wu Lingfei said after thinking for a while. She really couldn't let go of Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow was her family. Xiaolonjun nodded. If it was anyone else, she could deny or even order them, but Wu Lingfei couldn't. In addition to being the deputy lord of the Tianji Tower, Wu Lingfei was also the region lord of the Eastern Xian domain. Night Sorrow also received news about Thousand Leaves Saint. Although Night Moon had just returned, there were still spies. Just as Night Sorrow decided to take Yin Shi to do something again, Wu Lingfei came. When Wu Lingfei and Yu Qing were chatting, Night Sorrow knew that this matter couldn't be hidden anymore. He communicated with Yin Shi. He wanted to confess to Wu Lingfei and ask for her understanding. Although she didn't want to, Yin Shi knew that with the relationship between Wu Lingfei and Night Sorrow would tell Wu Lingfei sooner or later. After chatting with Yu Qing for a while, Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow. "Aunt Fei, let's go out for a walk," Night Sorrow said to Wu Lingfei. Then the two left the city and went to a quiet forest outside the city. Night Sorrow took out 2 jars of wine and handed one to Wu Lingfei. "Aunt Fei doesn't want to ask too much about you. I'm just a little worried." Wu Lingfei knew that Night Sorrow wanted to talk about serious matters. Look at the chapter of 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 the chapter. I know. Aunt Fei is family in my heart. If I did something wrong, would you forgive me? Night Sorrow asked after taking a sip of wine. Chapter 780. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? I will provide you with interesting novels to read. Night Sorrow looked at Wu Lingfei in astonishment. He did not expect Wu Lingfei to give such an answer. Love, go little say, chew, there is no absolute right or wrong in this world. Whatever you do, Auntie Fei will support you. Not for anything else, but because I am your Auntie Fei. Wu Lingfei looked at the astonished Night Sorrow and said. Night Sorrow felt guilty. Wu Lingfei treated him like this, yet he still hid it from her. This made him feel ashamed. Following which, Night Sorrow told her everything from when he was captured by Yin Shi until now. Wu Lingfei kept listening. When she heard some things between men and women, her emotions fluctuated. Following which, Night Sorrow looked at Wu Lingfei. He still wanted to know Wu Lingfei's attitude. The black-robed female sage who defeated the 7-star sage is Yin Shi, who has recovered her cultivation? Wu Lingfei looked at Night Sorrow and asked. Yes, I asked her to change her attire and deal with the 7-star sage. Night Sorrow nodded. Following which, he sent Yin Shi out of the time-space pagoda. Greetings, Lord Wu. Quebec. Yin Shi, who had already turned her hair black and was wearing a moon-white dress, bowed to Wu Lingfei. Wu Lingfei nodded. Since things have already come to this, I do not want to say anything more. However, if you dare to trick Night Sorrow, I will not let you go even if you go to the ends of the earth. Love, go little say, chew. Yin Shi nodded again. She understood that Night Sorrow was very important to Wu Lingfei. These words were not a threat. Following which, Night Sorrow kept Yin Shi back into the time-space pagoda. Following which, he sealed his soul power. This is a good thing. It solves a hidden worry for you. However, you will not be able to answer to Chu Yu, Yang Lei and Aoi. Wu Lingfei thought for a moment and said, I am somewhat unable to face them. I don't even dare to face Aunt Fei. Night Sorrow nodded. The matter with Yin Shi had given Night Sorrow a lot of pressure. Wu Lingfei nodded. This matter isn't your fault. Auntie Fei will explain it for you later. There are also some things that you don't have to say. Night Sorrow understood what Wu Lingfei meant. She wanted to hide a part of it from the 3 women, so he had to think about it. As he drank and chatted with Wu Lingfei, Night Sorrow glanced at Wu Lingfei's expression from time to time. He didn't want her to be disappointed in him. What are you looking at? You didn't do anything wrong in this matter. Wu Lingfei looked at the nervous Night Sorrow and said with a smile, I don't want Auntie Fei to be disappointed in me. Now that things have developed to this point, it is not what I want. Night Sorrow sighed. Now that things have developed to this point, it is a good result. The 9-domain world is going to be in chaos. Killing her will harm the strength of the 9-domain world, but not killing her will be a huge threat. Therefore, subduing her is the best outcome. Wu Lingfei smiled at Night Sorrow. She really didn't want Night Sorrow to feel pressured. She had watched Night Sorrow grow up. She knew what kind of temperament and character Night Sorrow had. Look at the original version of the book's square root chapter O** above. Afterwards, Wu Lingfei and Night Sorrow returned to the Golden Dragon City. The Golden Dragon City was already in a state of martial law. Night Moon's men had already taken over the Golden Dragon City and started to reorganize it. Currently, Night God Thunder was the city lord of the renamed Golden Moon City. After taking a casual stroll and looking at the situation in Golden Moon City, Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei arrived at the God-slaying team's camp. Yi Wuyo was also here. Everyone was eating barbecued meat from the wild beasts that Yun Huang had caught outside the city. Seeing Wu Lingfei, Yi Wuyo stood up and cupped his hands. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao, say www.ai2xs. Father, shouldn't you be very busy right now? How come you have time to drink and eat meat? Night Sorrow asked after finding a chair for Wu Lingfei and sitting down. There's nothing to be busy about. The family won't arrange anything specific for me, Yi Wuyo said with a smile. The current ruler of the Night Moon dynasty was Yi Linghuan. The next ruler would be Yi Wuyo. Therefore, Yi Wuyo's job was to control the overall situation. There would be no specific tasks for him. Night Sorrow thought for a moment and understood this. Then, he took out a jar of green blood wine and handed it to Yi Wuyo. He gave Yu Qing and Wu Lingfei the milder 100 herbs wine. Captain, there's not enough barbecued meat. Let's go catch some wild beasts, Ho Jian stood up and said. I'll go. Tianyu stood up. Catching wild beasts was Tianyu's strength. Tianyu, I want to eat bear meat. Birds are fine too, Night Sorrow shouted at Tianyu, who had already transformed into his original form. Brother Xiaofan, just wait. After responding, Tianyu disappeared. This partner is really amazing, Yi Wuyo said with some emotion. Not long after I started cultivating, I met Tianyu. We fought side by side for the past few years. He is a brother that I can live and die with. Night Sorrow nodded. Tianyu's speed was not to be underestimated. In a moment, he had hunted a large gray bear and flew back. Ho Jian and the others handled it and roasted it. After chatting for a while and drinking some wine, Yi Wuyo left. Although no one gave him any specific tasks, there were some things he had to take care of. Night Sorrow also planned to leave and go to the Red Leaves dynasty. Night Moon was going to fight, so they had to first eliminate the enemy's strongest force. Only then could they minimize their losses. Aunt Fei will go with you. Seeing Night Sorrow about leaving, Yi Wuyo said. After thinking for a moment, Night Sorrow nodded and then bowed to Yu Qing. Yu Qing cupped her hands to Wu Lingfei. Then I'll have to trouble Lord Wu Kei to take care of Night Sorrow. It's nothing. Madam Yi, don't worry. Wu Lingfei nodded. Other than when she was with Yi Shang, Wu Lingfei was more casual. She spoke more and had more expressions. She rarely interacted with others and was very formal. Even Yu Qing, whom she got along well with, was the same. Brother Xiaofan, don't you want me to follow you? Tianyu looked at Night Sorrow and asked. I don't need it this time. I'll definitely bring you with me in the future. Night Sorrow patted Tianyu's shoulder and said. They were going out to fight the saint, so Tianyu followed them as a means of transportation. But now, Night Sorrow was not willing to ride Tianyu if he did not need it. After leaving the mansion, Night Sorrow thought for a moment and said, Aunt Fei, it's not very appropriate for you to appear. It will bring some bad influence to the Eastern Xian region and Tianji Tower. Aunt Fei hasn't thought about this. I just feel at ease watching you. Besides, if you want to fight, then let's fight. Aunt Fei is not afraid of anything, Wu Lingfei said. Then after teleporting to Maple City, Aunt Fei, you can hide. If I need your help, you can come and help, Night Sorrow said. How about this? I'll also enter the space-time pagoda. If you need me, you can teleport me out, Wu Lingfei said. No, that's not good. Besides, Aunt Fei can't see the situation outside. Night Sorrow shook his head. He knew that Wu Lingfei had absolute trust in him because the space-time pagoda was Night Sorrow's treasure. In the space-time pagoda, Night Sorrow was the ruler. Without absolute trust, no one would enter someone else's spatial treasure. It was equivalent to handing their lives to someone else. Chapter 781. Geniuses remember love in 1 second? We provide you with interesting novels to read. Yishan nodded and then brought Yin Shi out of the space-time treasure pagoda. Greetings, Mistress Wu. Quebec. Yin Shi's attitude was very humble because she knew that Wu Ling concubine was the person Yishang respected the most. If she didn't respect Wu Ling concubine, it would be the same as making Yishang feel disgusted and angering him. You have to be more open-minded about some things. I won't comment on your relationship with Night Sorrow, but you don't have to be humble in front of others. You don't owe anyone anything, and you don't have to look at anyone's face. Wu Lingfei looked at Yin Shi and said, I don't have to in front of others, but Mistress Wu Kei is the person Night Sorrow respects the most. Yin Shi nodded. Then, the three of them began to teleport through Taiching City and to Maple City. There were many experts guarding outside Maple City's teleportation formation. 2 high-level honorables led the team and a mid-level honorable. Stop! Who are you? Where are you from? I want to investigate in detail. The high-rank venerable swung his sword horizontally and blocked the path of Yishang's group. After knowing that the Golden Dragon King's empire was destroyed, Maple City entered the highest state of alert. There was even a mid-level honorable who kept his hand on the teleportation formation's teleportation crystal. Once a large number of people teleported, the teleportation formation would be sealed immediately. Investigate? Go to hell. Yin Shi's left hand surged with the power of law and she swung the flowing wind sword with her right hand. The high-level honorable wasn't prepared for battle. Yin Shi's sword chi pierced through his head, piercing his spirit sea and destroying his soul. Even if the high-level honorable was prepared, it was useless. The difference between an honorable and a saint was too big. He couldn't fight back. Since she had already attacked, Yin Shi didn't hold back. She swung the flowing wind sword and killed all the saints around the teleportation formation. The mid-level honorable who wanted to destroy the teleportation formation was suppressed by Yin Shi's power of law, and didn't have the chance to do so. Night Sorrow kept the storage rings and weapons. The 2 high-level venerables were using spiritual weapons. Then, the 3 of them continued to fly into the city. Night Sorrow was led by Wu Lingfei. Their target was the 1,000-leaf saint, not a supremacy. Even a peak supremacy would not affect Night Moon's revenge. What kind of speed was a saint? Moments later, the 3 of them arrived at the Maple Imperial Palace. There really are people who have come to die. 1,000-leaf saint appeared in front of the Red Leaf Imperial Palace with a group of people. Just looking at him makes me angry. Why don't we just kill him instead of negotiating? Yin Shi looked at Night Sorrow. All right, I'll listen to you this time. Kill him. Night Sorrow was furious at 1,000-leaf Shang's arrogance. Shameless boasting. A 4-star saint and a 2-star saint dare to be so arrogant in my Red Leaf dynasty. I would rather have 2 saint women. 1,000-leaf saint laughed loudly. The other upper echelons of the Red Leaf dynasty laughed as well. You'll die today. Yin Shi and Wu Lingfei said the same thing. At the same time, Yin Shi's body flashed and flew towards 1,000-leaf Shang. Flowing Wind Sword also attacked. 1,000-leaf Shang's words provoked her. She was now subdued by Night Sorrow and was Night Sorrow's woman. She was furious when others talked about this. Wu Lingfei's side was the same. Who wouldn't be arrogant to be able to cultivate to the saint realm? After Yin Shi attacked, 1,000-leaf Shang's expression changed. Yin Shi was too fast and he couldn't keep up. Wu Lingfei also attacked. She originally didn't plan to attack, but after 1,000-leaf Shang's words and the others laughed, it angered her. Let me go, Aunt Fei. I'll kill them too. Night Sorrow was also very angry. This 1,000-leaf Shang was too shameless. The other members of the Red Leaf dynasty were the same. They mainly insulted Wu Lingfei and Yin Shi, which Night Sorrow couldn't tolerate. After hearing Night Sorrow's words, Wu Lingfei, who was using energy to envelop Night Sorrow, let go of her protective energy shield and let Night Sorrow kill them too. The 3 of them had different targets. Yin Shi suppressed 1,000-leaf Shang, Wu Lingfei chased after the peak honorables, and Night Sorrow attacked the ordinary honorables. Night Sorrow and the other 2 had the upper hand in the battle, and then it was a one-sided massacre. Yin Shi's cultivation and battle strength weren't proportional because she had the comprehension and realm of a 7-star saint. In addition, she had cultivated the wind origin body. Wu Lingfei used to be an invincible honorable and then entered the saint realm with a high-level attribute. Her battle strength was far beyond her actual cultivation. Night Sorrow's side was needless to say. Although he was a level 4 honorable, a mid-level honorable was no match for him. After a while, the upper echelons of the Red Leaf dynasty were almost all killed, except for some who fled when they saw the situation wasn't good. Only Thousand Leaves Shang was left. You still dare to boast so shamelessly? If you have any ideas about us, you'll have to die. She sped up her attack. Night Sorrow could tell that Thousand Leaves Sacred had been able to hold on until now by relying on a special movement technique. He had many illusions, which caused some of Shi's attacks to miss. You guys are ruthless. I won't let today's matter rest. Thousand Leaves Shang planned to leave when he saw that there was no hope of victory. His body shook quickly, and then many illusions rushed out in all directions. This was Thousand Leaves Shang's 100 illusion body technique. These illusions weren't illusions, but were between the real body and the phantom body. As long as one of them escaped, he would be able to survive. This was because each of the illusions was the real body, and they all had his soul power and origin power. If one of them escaped, the others would disperse, and the energy would merge with his body, so it wouldn't affect his strength too much. It was because of this 100 illusion body technique that Thousand Leaves Shang dared to challenge Night Moon Dynasty. Look at the G version and Chapter Y section 2E. You'll have to pay the price if you want to run. Wu Lingfei rose into the air and instantly turned into a golden king bird. To be precise, it was a golden phoenix. With a cry that resounded through the heavens, the golden phoenix opened its beak and directly absorbed all of these phantom avatars that didn't have much fighting strength into its body. I'm going to kill you all. The illusions that ran away screamed. Thousand Leaves Shang suffered a great loss after Wu Lingfei used her innate skill. His energy, life origin, and soul power had been divided into 100 parts, and Wu Lingfei had absorbed 60 to 70% of them into her body space. This was equivalent to destroying half of his cultivation base. The 100 illusion body technique was very overbearing. It could be dissolved by itself, and the energy would return. It would only consume some of the user's energy, but it wouldn't cause much damage. However, Wu Lingfei's appearance changed the power of the 100 illusion body technique. Once it was absorbed into Wu Lingfei's body space, Thousand Leaves Shang couldn't take it back. The golden phoenix shuttled back and forth, continuing to attack the phantoms. Shi also chased after the phantoms that made the sound. However, at this moment, that illusory doppelganger dissipated, its energy dissipating and flying away. This was because a few of the illusions had run out of the three's sight. That bastard still got away. Shi was very angry. Chapter 782. Genius 1 second. Remember Love Go/Little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Auntie Faye, are you all right? Yi Shang asked. No problem. It's just a clone that doesn't have much resistance. It's not a threat to Aunt Faye. The pure energy of the clone is actually helpful for Aunt Faye's cultivation. In a few days, it'll be a top-quality cultivation resource. Wu Lingfei smiled. That's good. From the looks of it, the Red Leaf Dynasty won't be able to resist Night Moon Dynasty's attack. Once the Red Leaf Dynasty is dealt with, only the Green Nether Dynasty is left. This won't pose much of a threat to Night Moon. Currently, the Night Moon Dynasty's problem isn't war, but rule. Night Sorrow said. You see it very clearly. Let's clean up the battlefield first, then we'll go collect resources. This Red Leaf Palace should have some resources. Wu Lingfei said. Then Night Sorrow began to clean up the battlefield. Wu Lingfei had killed many people, but he didn't collect any resources. Shi and Wu Lingfei threw the storage rings and weapons they collected to Night Sorrow. They didn't have much meaning to them. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. Wu Lingfei didn't lack resources. Besides, Night Sorrow had given her a lot of resources. She and Night Sorrow were inseparable. There was no need to talk about Shi. She was Night Sorrow's, so there was no need to talk about resources. Red Leaf Palace's underground storage was very big. Night Sorrow didn't hold back and directly moved all the resources into his storage ring. As for the types and prices, Night Sorrow didn't look at them because he didn't have time. After he finished here, he could inform Night Moon Dynasty to attack. Coming out of Red Leaf Palace, The three of them returned to the teleportation array. At this time, the teleportation array was in chaos. Many Red Leaf Dynasty people were running. Yi Shang let out a loud roar before he calmed down. You guys wait here. I'll go to the Tianji Tower branch and call for people to guard this place. Otherwise, it'll be troublesome if the teleportation array is destroyed. Wu Lingfei left after saying that, rushing towards the Tianji Tower branch in Maple Imperial City. A moment later, people from Tianji Tower arrived at the teleportation array and protected it. Next, Night Sorrow's group of 3 teleported to Extreme Clarity City. At this moment, Extreme Clarity City was in a state of chaos. Many people had teleported over from Red Leaf Imperial City and had already spread the news of the Red Leaf Dynasty's upper echelons being killed. Night Sorrow looked at Yin Shi after they were some distance away from the teleportation portal. I can enter the space-time pagoda. Love, go little, say, Yin Shi nodded. Yin Shi, we might have had some conflicts in the past. Take care of yourself. I will persuade Night Sorrow to treat you better, Wu Lingfei said to Yin Shi. Thank you, Mistress Wu. Yin Shi cupped her hands towards Wu Lingfei. She understood that Wu Lingfei didn't reject her and had accepted her existence. Night Sorrow, I won't go to Golden Moon City with you. I don't want to get involved, Wu Lingfei said. This battle was led by Yin Shi and she didn't want to take credit. Aunt Fei, there's no need for you to think like that. However, I respect your wishes. Can you go to Sky City to rest? Night Sorrow looked at Wu Lingfei and said, Hee hee. All right, you know me. Then go do your things. I'll go to Sky City later, Wu Lingfei said with a smile. Then, Night Sorrow directly teleported to Golden Moon City and met with Yi Linghuan and the other emperors. You mean Thousand Leaves Saint has been dealt with? Yi Linghuan looked at Night Sorrow in shock. Yes, he did. However, he has lost at least 70% of his strength. He won't be able to do anything evil in a short period of time. Once he spends a lot of time to recover, Grandpa can easily kill him. In addition, the higher-ups of the Red Leaves Dynasty are almost all dealt with. Grandpa can arrange for people to take over the cities. Also, I don't think there's a need to attack the Green Nether Dynasty for the time being. It's easy for us to take them down now, but the most important thing is to stabilize our position, Night Sorrow said to Yi Linghuan. You're right. Grandpa will kill their monarch later and get their resources first. We'll study them when we conquer them. Yi Linghuan's eyes never left Night Sorrow. Because of Night Moon's revenge, Night Sorrow's side had done more than half of it. There's one more thing. I was afraid that the Red Leaves Dynasty would transfer their resources, so I took them all. Who's in charge of Night Moon's resources now? I'll pass it on. Night Sorrow looked at the emperors of Night Moon and asked. Yi Shang back then, the family threw you out, and we've let you down. During this period of time, the family's resources have all been yours. If the family really lacked resources, it wouldn't have been a problem to use your resources because you're Yi Yu's young master. However, Yi Yu doesn't lack resources now, so what you have is yours. Yi Shen Yu, who was wearing her king's battle robes, looked at Yi Shang with guilt and kindness. That's right, just take them. After this battle, Night Moon will be able to recover, Night Shenxian said. Night Sorrow nodded. He understood that after conquering the Golden Dragon King dynasty, Night Moon had obtained a large amount of resources, and they would soon take over the Red Leaves dynasty's resources. Moreover, the Seven-Star Dynasty would also have a large amount of resources as compensation, so there wouldn't be any problems. Then I'll take my people back to Sky City. I'm also an alchemist, so if the family wants to refine medicinal pills, they can come to me, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a moment. Are you helping this king? That's right. Where did you get your peak-quality medicinal pills? Night Shanue asked as she looked at Night Sorrow. I refined them myself, Night Sorrow said. You're an alchemy grandmaster? Night Shanue looked at Night Sorrow with some surprise. When Night Sorrow obtained Night Moon's peak-quality medicinal pills, everyone thought that Night Sorrow had asked someone to refine them for him. They didn't think that Night Sorrow would be able to refine them himself. Yes, I can refine any peak-quality medicinal pills below Tier 5. If you need them, elders can come to Sky City to inform me, Night Sorrow said before leaving Golden Moon Hall. What's going on? It's been 21 years since Night Moon was besieged, and he's already a middle venerable at the age of 21. He's also an alchemy grandmaster. I'm a bit confused, Night Shenyue said as she rubbed her temples. Uncle, Auntie, Night Sorrow is also an array master. Night Moon's teleportation array was set up by him, but it seems that he hasn't studied the field of arrays yet, Yilingxia said. After we returned to Night Moon's sea, my brothers gave me the task of cultivating the next generation. When Nianxiao was still young, Yilan and Yijun weren't bad, but they were still a bit lacking. When Nianxiao grew up, I saw hope. Now it seems that Night Sorrow is Night Moon's true future. I hope third brother doesn't mind me saying this. Night Shenyue sighed and then smiled at Night Xinlei. Chapter 783. Genius 1 second. Remember love go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Xinlei, you have to do some work with Yilan and Yijun. Night Moon's unity is the core. Don't let anything that shouldn't happen. Yi Shenxian looked at Yi Xinlei and said. Yes, Yi Shenxian looked at Yi Xinlei and said. Brother, don't worry. I'll make arrangements. If they dare to be disobedient, I'll break their legs. Night Moon's tradition can never be broken, said Yi Xinlei. Unity was what all Night Moon people insisted on. No one was an exception. Yi Shenxian nodded. He believed that Yi Xinlei would handle it well. He also believed that Night Moon people's unity was in their blood. Brother, don't worry. Yi Lan and Yi Jun have good temperaments. After they found out about Night Sorrow, they both wanted to see Night Sorrow, their cousin. Also, when they found out that we were grooming Nianxiao as our successor, they didn't have any objections. They just took care of Nianxiao as their younger sister. Besides, Night Sorrow is definitely able to convince everyone, said Yi Shenxian with a smile. Yi Shenyu said with a smile. She had always taught Yi Yu's juniors, so she understood Yi Yu's children very well. There's another problem. Night Sorrow doesn't care too much about Night Moon's identity as the successor. Last time, when I mentioned that if he didn't appear, Nianxiao would be the successor, he directly said that it wouldn't affect him. It's fine as long as Nianxiao is the successor, said Yilingxia. Night Moon's dynasty returned with a strong momentum. It's destined to be the #1 dynasty in the Taiqing region. Is Night Moon's young master not impressive enough? One sentence can decide the fate of others. One sentence can decide the rise and fall of a power. Is that not enough? Said Yi Shenquang. What's the status of Tianji Tower's young master? But our Night Sorrow refused. He was forced to do it by the people of Tianji Tower. He admitted to being Night Moon's young master because he wanted to shoulder the responsibility and help Night Moon stand up again. As for status and power, he doesn't care at all, Yilingxia said. Night Moon's emperor, as well as Yi Wuyo and his wife, didn't have much contact with Night Sorrow, so they didn't understand Night Sorrow. However, Yilingxia knew very well. Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao, say www.ai2xs.com. Then what does he care about? Yi Shen you didn't quite understand. He cares about kinship and kindness. Apart from these two things, he is a madman who pursues cultivation and self-improvement. Yilingxia gave his evaluation of Night Sorrow. Golden Phoenix also sees him as the future of Eastern Xian region. There are many people who want to steal him from our Night Moon. Yilinghuan said. Linghuan, you have to handle this matter well. No one can steal him from you, Yi Shenlei said to Yilinghuan. Yilinghuan looked at Night God Thunder and said, Third uncle, I have 5 bloodline energy points and am already a saint. Moon Queen has 6 bloodline energy points and we all know what she has achieved. He has 7 bloodline energy points. Who can control his future? Baidu search AI Go female sign Xiao, say www.ai2xs.com. We'll talk about this later. Let's take down the Red Leaf Dynasty first and stabilize the situation. Ling Huan, make the battle arrangements first. Yi Shenxian was very pleased to have a descendant like Night Sorrow. No matter what, he was happy. Then Yi Linghuan arranged for Yi Shenlei to take charge of Golden Moon City. The other experts led their troops to attack the Red Leaf Dynasty. Night Sorrow led the god-slaying team back to Sky City. However, Yu Qing did not follow them back. She still had to fight with her husband. After returning to Sky City, Night Sorrow went to Wu Lingfei's loft. You came back very quickly. Aren't you going to fight? Wu Lingfei, who was wearing a white dress, walked out of the loft. There's no pressure in the battle. I won't participate in it. Is there any problem with Aunt Fei? Night Sorrow looked at Wu Lingfei and asked. There's no problem. Aunt Fei took advantage of this battle. Taking that guy's phantom doppelganger is equivalent to taking his cultivation and energy. Aunt Fei can slowly refine it. In the future, you won't lack the energy to raise your cultivation by 2 levels. Wu Lingfei smiled and nodded at Night Sorrow. That's good. Aunt Fei can rest for a few more days. Night Sorrow had been worried that Wu Lingfei had taken Thousand Leaves Shang's phantom doppelganger. Now he was relieved. We can't rest. We've refined Thousand Leaves Saint's doppelganger, but his soul power is still struggling. We have to continue refining it. However, I can feel a connection. What we should do now is chase after Thousand Leaves Saint and kill him to prevent future troubles, said Wu Lingfei to Yishang. Good. Let's go now. Night Sorrow nodded at Wu Lingfei. Although Thousand Leaves Sheng's strength was destroyed and Night Moon had someone to contend with, he was still a great threat to those who were not at the top. If they could kill him, it would be a good thing. Then, Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei left the loft. After saying goodbye to Sikong Chuyu and the other 2 women who were drinking tea, they left Sky City and went to Taiching City. Let her out. It's very stuffy inside. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow talked with Yin Shi for a while and then led Yin Shi, who had changed her clothes, out of the pagoda of time and space. Thank you, Mistress Wu Quebec. Yin Shi nodded at Wu Lingfei. She was very grateful for Wu Lingfei's respectful attitude. Yin Shi knew very well that with the relationship between Night Sorrow and Wu Lingfei didn't need to be polite to her at all. However, she still gave her some respect. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation, you don't need to be polite. I'm very happy that you've changed. As a woman, there's no need to make things difficult for a woman. Wu Lingfei nodded at Yin Shi. Thank you. Yin Shi nodded. At this moment, she really admired Wu Lingfei's magnanimity. Let's go do business first. We'll find a place to drink tea when we come back. Night Sorrow said. Wu Lingfei could accept Yin Shi's existence and even gave her respect. This was what he wanted to see. In addition, he was also very satisfied with Yin Shi's attitude. Night Sorrow and the other 2, who were wearing masks and veils, were teleported to the Red Leaf Imperial City. Then, under Wu Lingfei's lead, the 3 entered the Red Leaf Mountains. This guy is inside. We have to be careful this time. That guy's 100 illusion body is very good at escaping. Wu Lingfei said. I can't control him to use 100 illusion body to escape. When the time comes, I'll use the power of law to suppress him. Mistress Wu Kei can use your special ability to deal with him. Yin Shi looked at Wu Lingfei and said. Let's do it this way. Night Sorrow, you'll stay outside. If there's any illusion body that escapes, you'll attack and entangle it. When he disperses his energy body, the energy will return to his illusion body. If he doesn't disperse, he won't be able to escape. Wu Lingfei said to Night Sorrow. Night Sorrow nodded. He didn't have such experience yet. He just needed to listen to the arrangement. Then, under Wu Lingfei's lead, the 3 of them went deep into the Red Leaf Mountains. At this moment, in a cave in the Red Leaf Mountains, Thousand Leaves Saint was furious. He originally thought that after cultivating 100 illusion body, he could show off his skills. He didn't expect to be beaten up so badly. 70% of his illusion body was taken away by Wu Lingfei. It was equivalent to having 70% of his cultivation destroyed. If he wanted to cultivate it back, he didn't know how many years it would take. Chapter 784. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We will provide you with interesting novels to read. Just as Thousand Leaves Shang was about to go out and take a look, his expression changed. 3 figures flashed by. Wu Lingfei had brought Night Sorrow and Yin Shi to block the entrance. Love, go little, say, W, Chu. You guys are really persistent. Are you guys going to kill all of us? Let me tell you, you can't do it. Thousand Leaves Shang snorted. Master Wu Kei, you block the entrance. I'll go kill them. She nodded to Wu Lingfei and rushed into the cave to attack Thousand Leaves Shang. Before attacking, She first used the power of rules to cover the cave. She did this to prevent Thousand Leaves Shang from breaking the cave and escaping. Saint-class weapons are indeed powerful, Wu Lingfei said as she looked at the flowing wind sword in Shi's hand. Auntie Fei, you have one too. I just forgot to give it to you. Knight Sorrow took out a water-type Saint-class longsword and handed it to Wu Lingfei. Mid-class Saint-class longsword. Where did you get it? Why didn't you give it to me earlier so that I can recuperate? Wu Lingfei patted Knight Sorrow's shoulder and said happily. Knight Sorrow smiled embarrassedly. He had been too busy recently and had forgotten many things. Wu Lingfei, who had put away the Saint-class longsword, held her old longsword and watched the battle in the cave. She had to block the way and couldn't let Thousand Leaves Shang escape. If he did, he would be a threat. Chen Yishang was no match for Shi even when he was at his peak. Now that he had lost 70% of his cultivation, there was no way he could withstand Shi's storm-like attacks. After being stabbed a few times, he used 100 illusions. At this moment, Wu Lingfei waved her left arm and sent Knight Sorrow behind her. Her body instantly transformed into her original form. She opened her sparkling beak and drew a whirlpool into the cave. Damn it! Ah! Stop! Thousand Leaves Shang's screams were constantly heard. His weak phantom body couldn't withstand Wu Lingfei's ultimate talent and was absorbed into her talent space. Then, the golden phoenix let out a cry and turned into a human. She held a storage ring in her hand. Knight Sorrow, take it. Wu Lingfei waved her hand at Knight Sorrow. Auntie Fei, I already have a lot of resources. Why would I need them? You can just keep them. Knight Sorrow said. That's true. You really don't need anything. If you need anything, just tell Auntie Fei. Wu Lingfei thought about it and felt that Knight Sorrow's resources were not a problem. It's a good thing that the hidden problem has been solved, she said as she sheathed her long sword. Thank you for your hard work. I'm just a drummer. When we get back to Maple City, we'll treat you two to a feast, said Knight Sorrow. When they left Red Leaf Mountain Range, Wu Lingfei asked Knight Sorrow about the origin of the mid-grade Saint-class longsword. Knight Sorrow told her about his harvest last time. You're amazing. You've gotten so much in just one trip. Wu Lingfei was impressed by Knight Sorrow's luck. Many saints didn't have a suitable weapon in their entire lives, but Knight Sorrow solved a few people's problems in just one trip. Then, the three of them went to Maple City, where the atmosphere of war was still strong. Let's go to Taiching City. The atmosphere here is oppressive, said Wu Lingfei. Then, the three of them went to a restaurant in Taiching City. After finding a private room, Knight Sorrow ordered some dishes and took out 2 jars of wine. Knight Sorrow, your problem is almost solved. Now, just focus on cultivating. As for Clear Sky City, it'll depend on your luck. Wu Lingfei looked at Knight Sorrow and said. After searching, Knight Sorrow told her that he had confirmed Clear Sky City's location in the underworld. This is a chaotic world, but it doesn't concern you alone. Just focus on your cultivation. Don't worry too much, said Wu Lingfei. After eating, Wu Lingfei looked at Shi and then at Knight Sorrow. You don't have to worry too much about her. As long as she's fine, Aunt Fei will help you with Chuyu and the others. They won't blame you for this. Thank you, Aunt Fei. I really don't dare to tell them about this. Knight Sorrow smiled bitterly. It's okay. Aunt Fei will take care of this for you. Wu Lingfei nodded at Knight Sorrow. She knew Knight Sorrow very well. She knew that Knight Sorrow was under a lot of pressure because he felt guilty towards Sikong Chuyu and the others. However, she knew that Knight Sorrow didn't want to do this. Besides, if Shi could correct her shortcomings, it would be good. Shi thanks Lord Wu Kei again. Shi got up and bowed to Wu Lingfei. Wu Lingfei shook her head. She wanted to do this completely for Knight Sorrow. She didn't care about Shi's gratitude. After returning to Sky City, Knight Sorrow chatted with Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi for a while. He also took out the spirit artifacts he prepared for the three of them, and entered the secret cultivation room to cultivate. Come with me to the lake. Let's drink tea and chat, Wu Lingfei said to Sikong Chuyu and the others. When they arrived at the wooden boat by the lake, Qing Ji brewed a pot of tea. Aunt Fei, do you have something to tell us? Yonglei asked with a smile. Yes. This matter is a bit serious. If I don't say it, Night Sorrow is under a lot of pressure. Aunt Fei is afraid of crushing him. Wu Lingfei thought for a while and organized her words. About Night Sorrow, why didn't he say it himself? Sikong Chuyu was a bit puzzled. She felt that in the past, Night Sorrow would tell them everything. This matter, Night Sorrow really can't say it. It's mainly because he cares too much about you and your feelings. When he told me, he was under a lot of pressure. Wu Lingfei said to Sikong Chuyu. Aunt Fei, don't worry. No matter what happens to 13, we will support him. Aoi and Yonglei looked at each other and said. Seeing Wu Lingfei looking at her, Sikong Chuyu also nodded. Seeing the three girls nod, Wu Lingfei told them about how Father Gu and Yishang had been kidnapped by Yinshi some time ago. Seeing the shocked expressions of the three women, Wu Lingfei sighed. This is also the reason why Father Gu suddenly moved to Sky City. I remember now. That time, we didn't see Night Sorrow leave the Realm Sea, but we saw him come in from the outside. When he came back, he was a bit strange when he saw Father Gu. Night Sorrow must have been afraid that we would be worried, so he deliberately hid it from us. Aoi recalled the bits and pieces of that time. 500,000. Next is what Aunt Fei wants to say. The situation was very dangerous. He wanted to escape. He wanted to live. It's normal for him to use any means, right? Wu Lingfei looked at the three women. Aunt Fei, just say it. We can understand what happened to Night Sorrow, Yonglei said. Hearing Yonglei's words, Wu Lingfei nodded. She knew that Yonglei had a bad temper. If Yonglei didn't have a problem, then there was no problem with Yinshi's matter. Afterward, Wu Lingfei told them about Yinshi, her recent changes, and her current situation with Night Sorrow. Chapter 785. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Ninth Junior Sister. What do you want Night Sorrow to tell us about this? He didn't want to make us angry. Aoji looked at Yonglei and said. Haha. Aoji looked at Yonglei and said. It looks like Night Sorrow took advantage of the situation, but he's under a lot of pressure. Let's understand, Sikong Chuyu said. Sigh, it's really hard on 13. We're still burdening him. Aoi sighed. Let's talk to 13 later. Looking at him like this, we are the ones who feel sorry for him. Yonglei thought for a moment and said. It's good that you've thought it through. Actually, Yinshi has changed a lot. Her arrogance is gone, and she's a lot gentler now. Besides, she's also fought for Night Sorrow. 7-star Saint and 1,000-leave Saint were taken care of by her. Wu Lingfei talked about Yinshi's situation. If she doesn't make things difficult for Night Sorrow, then we won't make things difficult for her. However, it's not appropriate to accept her, Sikong Chuyu said. There's no need to say anything about accepting. Auntie Fei is telling you this not to accept anyone. Auntie Fei just doesn't want Night Sorrow to bear the pressure. It's fine as long as you don't blame him for this. Wu Lingfei said. With Auntie Fei here, the pressure in Night Sorrow's heart will lessen. Auntie Fei, don't worry. As long as she doesn't act recklessly, we won't say anything. Aoi said. Me newer? Fastest. Square root afterwards. Wu Lingfei left. She was quite happy to have solved a problem for Night Sorrow. Aoi and the other two sat together and looked at each other silently. If she's obedient, we'll ignore her. If she's not obedient, we'll get 13 to teach her a lesson. Didn't 13 control her soul? She won't be able to jump, Yonglei said after taking a sip of tea. Aoi and Sikong Chuyu nodded. The three of them were definitely on the same side. When night fell, Night Sorrow came out. He did not need to go into seclusion for long periods of time. At this moment, the servants had already set the table for dinner. Then, Night Sorrow and the three girls had dinner with Papa Gu. After Papa Gu left, Night Sorrow drank a cup of tea and went to the lakeside to cultivate. The three girls stood up and followed Night Sorrow to the lakeside. Night Sorrow took out his space splitter spear and wanted to practice his spear art, but he was stopped by Yonglei. Yes. Auntie Fei told us. Sikong Chuyu said. What did he say? Yishang, who had been sitting down, stood up and the tea spilled onto his robes. Sit down. Tianyu, go play by the side. Yang Lei pulled Night Sorrow to sit down and waved at Tianyu. Night Sorrow sat there and did not say anything, waiting for the three girls to explode. He knew that Wu Lingfei should have talked to the three girls about Yin Shi. Night Sorrow, we know what happened. We don't blame you for this, Sikong Chuyu said. Yi Shang was stunned for a moment before he raised his head to look at Sikong Chuyu. But you can't not tell us if you have something on. We are husband and wife and will live together for the rest of our lives. Even if you are embarrassed to tell me, you can tell Six's senior sister first. That way, you won't have to bear the pressure all the time. Sikong Chuyu looked at Night Sorrow. There was no anger in her eyes. Only heartache. I'm not wrong in this matter, but I was wrong in the end, Night Sorrow said. Let her out first. Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said. Then, Night Sorrow brought Yin Shi, who had turned black hair and was wearing a light blue dress, out of the space-time pagoda. Seeing Sikong Chuyu and the other two girls, Yin Shi cupped her hands and greeted them because she did not know how to address them. Night Sorrow introduced them. Since it's already out, let's sit down and talk. Aoi nodded at Yin Shi and then pulled Night Sorrow to sit beside her. She knew that Night Sorrow was the most embarrassed at this moment. Yin Shi sat in front of the three girls. Night Sorrow is our fiancé. He's our everything. We don't dislike you, but we need him to be safe, Sikong Chuyu said. I know and understand. I won't hurt Night Sorrow. If there's a battle, I'll fight with him. As long as I'm alive, I won't let him get hurt, Yin Shi said. That's fine. We're all women. Why do women have to make things difficult for other women? Aoi said. She had the most gentle personality. Thank you for your understanding. Yin Shi stood up and cupped her hands at Aoi. You can't always live in the space-time pagoda. Just live in the mansion. If anyone asks, you're Night Sorrow's friend. You became friends with Night Sorrow after holding him hostage, Yang Lei said. Is this appropriate? If not, I can continue to live in the space-time pagoda. I'm already used to it. Yin Shi said. It's fine. It's mainly up to you and Night Sorrow. It's best if no one finds out. That way, whoever schemed against Night Sorrow will be unlucky, Sikong Chuyu said. How about this? You can cultivate in the space-time pagoda during the day and come out at night to get some fresh air. You can drink tea and chat with everyone, Night Sorrow said after thinking for a while. Then, the girls agreed with Night Sorrow's idea. I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. Yi Shan exhaled and took a big gulp of tea. You've taken advantage of us and you're still relieved? Yang Lei looked at Night Sorrow and said. It's not easy for me. I'm afraid that you'll be unhappy and unable to accept this fact. Actually, you can try to be friends, Night Sorrow said. Don't worry, I won't hurt you or have any other thoughts. At most, I'll just be Night Sorrow's friend, Yin Shi said. Senior sisters, Chuyu, Yin Shi has changed a lot. Yin Shi has the realm and cultivation experience of a 7-star saint. Everyone can talk about it, Night Sorrow said. After saying that, Night Sorrow went to cultivate the spatial crack. He wanted to give the girls some space to talk. After Night Sorrow's body disappeared, Yin Shi apologized to the girls again. Our standpoints were different back then. We can't say who's right and who's wrong. It's mainly about the future, Aoi said. We saw you in front of the spatial tunnel in Dongxiang City. You've changed a lot, Yang Lei looked at Yin Shi and said. People change with the passage of time, Yin Shi said. Then do you still hate Night Sorrow? Sikong Chuyu thought for a while and asked. I don't hate him. Today's situation is my own fault. Moreover, my cultivation can be recovered and I can return to my original realm. Moreover, I have a better foundation. Yin Shi looked at Sikong Chuyu and shook her head. As long as you don't hate Night Sorrow, everything is fine. Yang Lei glanced at Yin Shi. She was also worried that Yin Shi would hate him. After cultivating the spatial crack, Night Sorrow returned to the wooden boat. Chapter 786. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. That's fine. In that case, let's head back first. We can come out for tea tomorrow. Night Sorrow nodded and put Yin Shi into the time pagoda. After pondering for a while, Night Sorrow decided not to shut off his soul power. That way, Shi would feel estranged. He guessed that Shi would also want to know the comments of Sikong Chuyu, Aoi, and Yang Lei. She's really beautiful, and her figure is so good that I can't say anything about it. Her curves should be perky. Our Night Sorrow doesn't just eat everything. Yang Lei said as she looked at Night Sorrow. Ninth senior sister. Please don't discourage me. These days, my life has been really tiring. I don't know how to explain it to all of you, because this is equivalent to betraying all of you. I also don't know how to tell Auntie Faye, because I am a little despicable. Night Sorrow spoke of the pressure in his heart. In fact, during this period of time, Night Sorrow had not relaxed at all. I can understand you. Eating in secret and not daring to let others know. No matter how good the meat is, it's not comfortable to eat it, Sikong Chuyu said with a smile. Ninth senior sister, you've led Chuyu astray, Night Sorrow said to Yang Lei as he pulled Sikong Chuyu to his side. 13. If that she doesn't have any evil intentions, then treat her better. Her family has been destroyed and she has lost her freedom. It's not easy for her. Love, go little, say, Kuaoi said. Night Sorrow nodded. Shi, who was in the space-time treasure pagoda, also let out a sigh of relief. She understood that her situation would be much better because Night Sorrow's 3 women were all pretty broad-minded. After drinking some tea, the 4 of them returned to the mansion. Aoi waved at Yang Lei, Sikong Chuyu, and Night Sorrow before returning to her attic. Night Sorrow brought Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu back to the bedroom. Then, he sealed his soul energy. He didn't want Shi to know what was going to happen next. Stingy brat. Let me see. What's there to lose? Shi shouted from within the space-time treasure pagoda. Ridiculous. Night Sorrow muttered. Who's being ridiculous? Yang Lei pulled Night Sorrow's ear. Don't. It's Shi. She's unhappy that I sealed the space-time pagoda and prevented her from sensing the outside world. She wants to know what we're doing. With Yang Lei grabbing his ear, Night Sorrow could only tell the truth. This woman wants to see everything. Even we want to see it. If you have time, you and she can perform for us. Yang Lei shouted at Night Sorrow. That's too shameless. Even a saint would do such a thing? Sikong Chuyu also began to mutter. Now that I've sealed the space-time treasure pagoda, there's no problem. Night Sorrow bent down and threw Yang Lei and Sikong Chuyu onto the big bed. Then he pounced on them. After not being together for a long time, it was inevitable that passion would burn. The 2 girls were also in high spirits. It wasn't until midnight that the 3 of them laid down together to rest. It had been a long time since they were so relaxed. Night Sorrow felt a sense of security in his heart. After resting for a night, Night Sorrow woke up and realized that there were some changes in him. That was that his mind was clear. He also felt that cultivating his spear techniques was very smooth. Did you feel the change? Because there's pressure in your heart and your soul is covered in dust. Yesterday's problem was solved, so I feel a lot more carefree. Wu Lingfei appeared in the courtyard and smiled at Night Sorrow and nodded. See the original A+ Chapter 6C Section U. I do feel refreshed today. It's just that I didn't expect that something in my heart would affect my soul. Night Sorrow lamented. Aunt Faye, actually he underestimated us. Even if he was wrong, it's fine to tell us. Sikong Chuyu, who had laid out the breakfast, came over and said. Wu Lingfei shook her head. Actually, it's not that he underestimated you. It's just that he cared too much about you. He was too worried that you would be angry and unable to accept it. Therefore, he bore the pressure himself. Night Sorrow, if there's anything in the future, just say it. If you don't say it, it's easy for something big to happen. Sikong Chuyu said. Night Sorrow nodded. He realized the seriousness of the problem. Doing something shameful would cause one's soul to be covered in dust. It would cause one's path of cultivation to not be smooth. After everyone ate breakfast together, Night Sorrow took his spear and went to the lake to cultivate. Yang Lei, Aoi, and Sikong Chuyu all admitted their mistakes to Wu Lingfei. They knew that although it wasn't their intention, it did give Night Sorrow a lot of pressure. Wu Lingfei smiled and let everyone talk more. She let Night Sorrow say anything. Night Sorrow went to the lake to cultivate a spatial fissure. Then, he entered the space-time pagoda. Are you planning to suffocate me to death? Aren't you going to let me see the situation outside? At most, I won't look at you and your fiancé. She said. Night Sorrow smiled and released his soul power. Finally, he asked about the conversation yesterday. Your 3 fiancés are really good. They are as beautiful as flowers and have graceful figures. Most importantly, they have a high temperament and a broad mind. She said. She had a good impression of Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi. The 3 of them didn't make things difficult for her. When everyone is together, you have to be more tolerant. Communicate with them more and lower your attitude. They are still young. You have more life experience than them. Night Sorrow looked at Shi and said, What do you mean? You eat it again and then say it doesn't taste good. Are you saying that I'm old? Shi looked at Night Sorrow and said. Her eyes were filled with unhappiness. That's not what I meant. Cultivators have a long lifespan. Age doesn't matter. What I meant was that you are more mature than them. You are fine. I respect you. Night Sorrow looked at Shi and said. He felt that women were very sensitive and should be careful with their words. That's good. If you are like this, I will be willing to do whatever position you want me to do in the future. You know what I mean. Shi said with a smile. All right. You win. I want to recover my cultivation. Night Sorrow nodded at Shi. Night Sorrow was happy. Sikong Chuyu, Yang Lei, and Aoi's problems were solved. Shi would also make some efforts. Things were going in a good direction. Shi's unhappiness was fake. In fact, it was just a joke. After recovering, Night Sorrow came out of the space-time treasure pagoda and saw Sikong Chuyu and the other 2. After thinking for a while, Night Sorrow also transferred Shi out of the space-time treasure pagoda. After transferring Shi out, Night Sorrow immediately used the space-time treasure pagoda and began to cultivate his innate skill. He mainly wanted to avoid the awkward situation. Why are you running? The problem has been solved. Everyone just needs to face it. This attitude is not good. Yang Lei said. He is shy. When he doesn't want to face some things, he chose this method. Maybe the rest will be our interaction. Shi nodded at Yang Lei. Sit down and drink tea. Don't let him see you standing here while we are drinking tea and think that we are making you angry. Yang Lei pointed at the chair and said. Chapter 787. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. You guys chat. I'm going to meditate and cultivate. Love, go little say, chew with a flash. Night Sorrow entered the space-time pagoda. Right now, he was too embarrassed to face this situation. This guy is still embarrassed, Yang Lei said after taking a sip of tea. He's good in other aspects. Whether it's battle experience or dealing with things, he's very experienced. It's just that he's a little reserved when it comes to men and women. Qingji said. She had personally experienced it because if she didn't do something, if she didn't take the initiative, Yishan would never take the initiative to do something. Yes. When we went to the ice-snow mountain in the Far East ice field, I was injured. He saw what he should see and what he shouldn't see. He didn't take the initiative at all. This should be because Chuyu taught him well, Yang Lei said with a smile as she looked at Sikong Chuyu. That's because he didn't keep an eye on her. He ate 9th senior sister and then 6th senior sister. This one didn't escape, Sikong Chuyu said as he looked at Shi. This wasn't his intention. I was possessed and did some things that I can't accept even now. I apologize for this once again. I wasn't like this in the past, Shi said. Love, go little say, chew if you can say that. Then let's not talk about the past. Night Sorrow respects you, and so will we. You're older, so I'll call you Sister Shi. Yang Lei cupped her hands at Shi. Sikong Chuyu and Qingji also stood up. They both agreed with Yang Lei's words. It was rare for a saint to admit her mistake like this. The most important thing was that everyone could coexist peacefully. Yishang would only feel awkward if he was in the middle. Don't call me Sister Shi. The Silver Devil Clan's surname is Shui. My real name is Shui Shi. The name Shi will vanish into thin air in the future. There will be no more Shi, Shi said to Sikong Chuyu and the others. She should be called Xuexi. Xuexi was planning to give up everything the Silver Dusk Saint had and start anew. That's a good thing. Tianyu, catch some fish for 9th senior sister. Let's grill fish and drink wine. Yang Lei shouted at Tianyu, who was cultivating on the ground. This wasn't Yang Lei using Night Sorrow's power to do things. Tianyu had a good relationship with the 3 girls. Xikong Chuyu and the 3 girls all treated Tianyu as a younger brother, so they were very casual. I'll be done soon, Tianyu replied, and his body flashed as he went to catch fish in the lake. When the girls finished grilling the fish, Night Sorrow came out of the space-time pagoda. When Night Sorrow was about to cultivate again, he was caught by Yang Lei. Come and eat grilled fish and drink wine. There's something else I want to tell you. Then, Yang Lei told him about Xuexi's decision. Congratulations. Your new life has begun. Here, you are everyone's friend, Xuexi. Night Sorrow stretched out his hand to Xuexi very seriously. Kung Fu. Seeing Night Sorrow stretch out his hand, Xuexi also stretched out her hand very seriously to shake Night Sorrow's hand. Then, Sister Xuexi doesn't have to hide from anyone in the future because there's only Xuexi in the city in the sky, Xikong Chuyu said. Night Sorrow shook his head and said, that might not be enough. Senior Xiaolon Jun and the others can still recognize him through his aura. It's just that he has changed his hair color. He won't be able to hide from the other saints. That's not a problem. I have a cultivation technique called the aura concealing technique. In the past, I disdained to cultivate it. After cultivating it, my energy and aura will change. Additionally, after cultivating the elemental wind body, my aura and energy have changed somewhat, Xuexi said. Alright, I know you don't want to see Senior Xie and the others, and I don't want to see you in an awkward situation. It's best if we don't meet. Yishan thought for a moment before replying. That's right, Yishan said after thinking for a moment. After eating the roasted fish and drinking some wine, Night Sorrow continued to cultivate the spatial crack technique. When he returned, Xikong Chuyu said, don't cultivate today. Have some tea, chat, and rest. Alright, I've been feeling very relaxed recently. Alright, I haven't sorted out the resources I collected yet. Night Sorrow said. Following that, Night Sorrow took out a bunch of storage rings and the resources he had obtained from the Red Leaf Dynasty. Then, he began to organize them. The Red Leaf Dynasty had a long history, so its resources were naturally abundant. Night Sorrow took more than 2 hours to organize them. There was no need to talk about the spirit stones. Night Sorrow packed 2 storage rings, and he also sorted out the materials for refining pills and artifacts. Night Sorrow directly gave some attribute crystals to everyone, and Night Sorrow was not stingy with Xuexi. What surprised Night Sorrow was that there were still 2 void Dao stones. Xuexi's eyes lit up because she needed them. Actually, last time when we talked about soul clones, your eyes lit up, but at that time, you needed to deal with the 7-star saint, so you couldn't lose your strength, so I didn't give them to you. Night Sorrow took out the bigger one of the void Dao stones and threw it to Xuexi. Don't worry, it's an eventful time now. I won't lose my strength to cultivate soul clones. In the future, if there's nothing else, I'll go cultivate. Xuexi said happily as she held the void Dao stone. Your soul force's foundation is not enough, so don't study this for now. Wait until you enter the venerable realm and your soul force liquefies before cultivating. Night Sorrow looked at Xikong Chuyu and the other 2 girls and said, if you have extra void Dao stones, go ask your parents if they need them. Aoi reminded Night Sorrow. Alright, I'll go see my parents later. Actually, without the corresponding cultivation method, the effect of cultivating it is not strong. Night Sorrow said, I have a cultivation method. When they want to cultivate, you can just use the void Dao stone. At this time, Xuexi decisively stood in the same line as Xikong Chuyu and the other 2. You think you're so great just because you have a cultivation method? My soul clone has reached large success and has 90% of my original body's strength. How much power does your cultivation method have? Night Sorrow looked at Xuexi with disdain. Then I'll also learn your soul clone cultivation method. Hearing Night Sorrow's words, Xuexi was stunned for a moment before she quickly said, no. This involves the inheritance. The cultivation technique I used to cultivate the soul doppelganger was given to me by Auntie Fei. Because of that, Auntie Fei was punished by the backlash of her bloodline. You know what I mean, Yishang said apologetically. Understood. Truth be told, my soul doppelganger cultivation technique is also possible. It is the Origin Wind doppelganger secret technique. Although it contains 70% of the original body's energy after reaching major success, its speed is fast. There is not much difference between it and the original body. However, there is a restriction. Only cultivators with wind or water attributes can practice it. Yang Lei can only practice other soul doppelganger secret techniques, Xueshi said. This matter is still quite far away for us. When the time comes, there might be a suitable cultivation method. Yang Lei said with a smile. Let's not talk about this for now. With enough resources, it's not a problem for you to increase your cultivation. You still have to walk the path of strengthening your attributes. However, you have to pay attention to the problem of a stable foundation. Night Sorrow said to Sikong Chuyu and the other two. He had just given the three of them a lot of attribute crystals. He was afraid that the three of them would neglect the problem of their foundation because they had enough resources. Night Sorrow, when are we going to Hao Tian's side to take a look? We can't miss the opportunity there. Xueshi said. Chapter 788. Xueshi nodded. She didn't know much about Night Sorrow's body cultivation. In her impression, Night Sorrow's body cultivation was already at the peak, but Night Sorrow kept improving at this peak. Then Night Sorrow said goodbye to the girls. He was going to go out and see how Night Moon's revenge war was going. The Golden Dragon King's side is not a problem. What they need is rule. As for the Red Leaf Dynasty, it shouldn't be a big problem because they don't have anyone capable of withstanding the attacks of the Night Moon Dynasty. However, as the young master of the Night Moon Dynasty, you should go and take a look, Xueshi said. After arriving at Golden Moon City, Night Sorrow didn't see Yi Linghuan and Yi Wuyo. After chatting with Night God Thunder for a while, Night Sorrow knew that Night Moon's upper echelons were at Red Leaf Imperial City. Night Sorrow then teleported to Red Leaf Imperial City. At this time, Red Leaf Imperial City had been renamed Red Moon City. In the City Lord's mansion, Night Sorrow saw Yi Linghuan and a few emperors. Yi Wuyo and his wife were also there. You ran away after killing the enemy's main combatants. Now you look like you're inspecting. Night God Kwang looked at Night Sorrow and said, #K to the power of 70V. God Kwang Emperor, don't make fun of me. I just want to meet with my parents. Night Sorrow said with a smile. Filial piety. Not bad. Night God Kwang nodded. When I'm not busy, I'll go find you. In these two wars, Night Moon collected a lot of materials to refine some pills. I'm only an alchemy master. The quality of the pills I refine is not as good as an alchemy master like you. Night God Moon said. Can't an honorable become an alchemy master? Why are you still an alchemy master? Night Sorrow was a little puzzled. He didn't understand Night God Moon's situation. You really don't know much about general knowledge. There are many venerables on the continent, but how many alchemy grandmasters are there? An alchemy grandmaster must be at least an alchemy grandmaster, but an alchemy grandmaster is not necessarily an alchemy grandmaster. This is related to the inheritance of alchemy, Night Sorrow said as she looked at Night Sorrow. This is Night Sorrow. You don't understand. Night Sorrow blushed with shame. He had never thought about this. Because he had Feng Chen's handwritten alchemy manual, he had never considered the issue of alchemy inheritances. After chatting for a while, Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing took Night Sorrow to their temporary residence. I thought that after Night Moon returned, there would be a bloody battle, but after you took the lead, all difficulties were resolved. If I had known earlier, I would have brought your sister out of the Sea of Night Moon so that you and your sister could meet earlier, Yi Wuyo said with a smile. There's no rush. As long as my family is safe, we can meet whenever we want, Night Sorrow said with a smile. Yu Qing also nodded. She agreed with Night Sorrow's words. After that, Night Sorrow took out the crystals and spirit stones he obtained from the Red Leaf Palace and the Red Leaf Dynasty's upper echelon storage rings and gave some to Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing. Father, your main cultivation path is the space element. I don't know about the secondary element, so I gave the holy weapon to Mother last time, Night Sorrow said to Yi Wuyo. There's no difference between giving it to your mother and giving it to me. Besides, I mainly cultivate the space element. As for the light element, it's just a side element. It has nothing to do with the earth element, Yi Wuyo said with a smile. Knight Sorrow was stunned. This was the first time he had seen a cultivator with a light element. Don't be surprised. If it weren't for the light element and my strong recovery ability, I wouldn't have survived 20 years ago. Yi Wuyo looked at Knight Sorrow and said something that Knight Sorrow didn't know. Knight Sorrow nodded. He had never seen a light crystal before. He also gave Yi Wuyo a space crystal. Knight Sorrow then asked Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing who wanted to cultivate a soul doppelganger. Yi Wuyo shook his head. He didn't want to cultivate this because it was important for him to cultivate the spatial split. Also, he needed to break through to the Saint Realm. During this time, he couldn't damage his soul. However, Yu Qing was interested. She was still far from the peak of the Venerable Realm. She could cultivate a soul doppelganger. Knight Sorrow then gave the Phantom Dao Stone to Yu Qing. As for cultivation methods, Yu Qing had her own. There was also a soul doppelganger secret method in the inheritance of Beiyu City. Knight Sorrow then asked his father if Yi Linghuan wanted to cultivate a soul doppelganger. Knight Sorrow, it's good that you have such intentions. However, there are some things that you don't have to worry about. The harvest from this revenge battle is huge. Night Moon will also make up for some rare resources. In addition, your grandfather probably won't cultivate a soul doppelganger because he's the same as me. He wants to maximize the power of the spatial split and spatial slash. He won't easily destroy the integrity of his soul, Yi Wuyo said. After hearing Yi Wuyo's words, Knight Sorrow understood that not everyone would choose to cultivate a soul doppelganger. It would be very harmful to the soul. Later, Knight Sorrow learned some news from Yi Wuyo. The elders of Taiqing City had decided to elect a new city lord and deputy city lord. Yi Linghuan was very likely to be the next city lord because no one in Taiqing City could compete with him. Decades ago, Yi Linghuan was known as the Invincible King. Now he was a saint. No one could compare to him in terms of strength and reputation. Yun Tianlong, the monarch of the Yun dynasty, was also a little inferior. There was still some difference between an invincible venerable and a saint. Father, then Taiqing City will belong to our Night Moon dynasty. No one will be able to compete with us, Knight Sorrow said happily. If Yi Linghuan could become the city lord of Taiqing City, Night Moon dynasty would reach the peak in terms of strength and righteousness. Yes, if your grandfather can become the city lord, Night Moon will reach the peak again. Yi Wuyo nodded. After chatting with Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing for a while, Knight Sorrow left Maple City and teleported to Taiqing City. After exiting Taiqing City's teleportation array, Knight Sorrow was surprised to see Star Tiger and Sing Lo. Nothing much. Want to have a drink? Star Tiger greeted Knight Sorrow. Sure. Knight Sorrow nodded. He admired Star Tiger's magnanimity. Although Seven Star Dynasty had suffered a loss, he didn't look at him as if he was an enemy. After entering the restaurant and ordering, Knight Sorrow took out 2 jars of wine. There's not much good wine left, but we can drink it. That means I'm in luck, Star Tiger said with a smile. You brought wine into the restaurant. Can't you afford to drink the restaurant's wine or something? You're Night Moon's young master, a real prince, right? Sing Lo looked at Knight Sorrow with disdain. This is good wine. You can't buy it with money. Besides, you don't have to look at me like I'm about to be cut to pieces, right? Actually, I made the decision to reconcile with Seven Star Dynasty, you know? I'm also under pressure, Knight Sorrow said to Sing Lo, who had been looking at him coldly. Thank you, Star Tiger. I understand. That's just how my aunt is. Don't mind her. If I really hate you, I'll just take out my weapon, Star Tiger said with a smile. I don't hate you, but I don't really hate you. I'm just angry at you, okay? Sing Lo said as he picked up the wine jar beside Knight Sorrow, opened it and began to pour wine. Knight Sorrow was speechless. He used the wine he brought as an excuse, and now he wanted to drink his wine. Chapter 789. After drinking 2 jars of wine, Star Tiger told me the main reason for going to Night Moon, Knight Sorrow said. Anyway, I'm begging you for this. You can do as you see fit, Star Tiger said as he raised his wine bowl to Knight Sorrow. If there's really a marriage alliance, I'll tell my grandfather and arrange for some outstanding and domineering members of Night Moon, Night Sorrow said to Star Tiger. Outstanding is a must. What about domineering? Star Tiger asked Night Sorrow. If you're not domineering, you'll be bullied to death. Night Sorrow glanced at Sing Lo. Star Tiger coughed twice to hide his awkwardness. Night Sorrow's words were like killing someone without spilling blood. Killing people is the least important thing. What you said just now was really good. Sing Lo was so angry that his face turned white. After drinking, Night Sorrow brought Star Tiger and Star Tiger to Night Moon City. Then, he found the current person in charge of Night Moon City, Wuxia, and arranged for Star Tiger and Sing Lo to stay. Then, he returned to the city in the sky. Night Moon Dynasty recovered really quickly. In the future, Night Moon will be the only dynasty in Taiqing region, followed by Yun Dynasty. The future of Seven Star Dynasty is not optimistic, Sing Lo said with a sigh. Night Moon Dynasty and Yun Dynasty have a deep relationship. They didn't participate in Night Moon's revenge this time, but they have been helping Night Moon Dynasty defend their borders. This is a big favor and Night Moon will value it. Besides, the Qingming Dynasty's king has been killed. It's only a matter of time before Night Moon takes them down, Star Tiger said. The undefeated King Yi Linghuan will be the city lord of Taiqing City. This is a foregone conclusion. Whether or not our Seven-Star Dynasty can survive will depend on this peace talk, Sing Lo said as he looked at the streets of Night Moon City outside the window. Auntie, you don't have to be against the marriage alliance. Night Moon's core princes and grandsons are all very outstanding, and they have always been monogamous. Of course, that bastard Night Sorrow is an exception, Star Tiger said. In fact, Star Tiger was more optimistic about Night Sorrow, but when he found out that Night Sorrow and Sing Lo were like fire and water, he knew that there was no chance. Therefore he could only settle for the next best thing, which was to let Night Sorrow recommend him. Sing Lo thought for a moment and said, Night Sorrow is really something. The one who defeated the old ancestor was a saintess, and when he attacked the Red Leaves dynasty, he had two saintesses by his side. What kind of situation is this? It's really hard to understand. The situation of Night Moon could be said to have been laid out by him. His opinion has a great influence on the higher-ups of Night Moon. However, seeing his attitude towards you, I think he will put in a good word for the Seven-Star Dynasty. Star Tiger nodded. He should. Let's stay here for a while. When the situation in Night Moon stabilizes, we will inform the family to come over. Star Tiger and Sing Lo then stayed in Night Moon City. They also went to the Night Moon Monument to offer incense. After staying for a few days, Star Tiger and Sing Lo planned to go to Sky City to meet Night Sorrow. However, they encountered a problem. The Night Moon City's teleportation array allowed you to teleport anywhere except the city in the sky. Why can't we teleport to Sky City? Sing Lo asked. When Night Sorrow brought Sing Lo and Star Tiger to Sky City, he explained that it was where he lived. Other than the Night Moon Core token, no one else is allowed to teleport there. This is the order of King Ling Huan and King Ling Xia, Yi Lingyuan, who was guarding the teleportation array, said. The Night Moon sovereigns who were supposed to go to the islands in the Realm Sea had all returned. Yi Lingyuan was now in charge of guarding the teleportation array. Sing Lo and Star Tiger looked at each other, then left the teleportation array. Did you see that? Without the Night Moon Core token, you can't even go to where he lives. It's clear that his status in Night Moon is very high, Star Tiger said. That guy sure is arrogant. Sing Lo understood. She and Star Tiger were also core members of the Seven-Star Dynasty, but they were on a completely different level compared to Night Sorrow, who was the core of Night Moon. At this moment, Yi Linghuan and Yun Tianlong were talking in the palace of Red Moon City. I'm very sorry about what happened back then. This king was in seclusion and couldn't come to your aid in time. Yun Tianlong cupped his hands toward Yi Linghuan. You're too polite, Monarch Yun. Night Moon will always remember the Yun dynasty's help. It's good that you're here this time. Otherwise, I would have gone to the Yun dynasty as well. Yi Linghuan said. What's the matter? Feel free to speak, Yun Tianlong said. He knew that Yi Linghuan was in Red Leaf Imperial City, so he came to visit. The Night Moon dynasty took down the Golden Dragon King dynasty and the Red Leaf dynasty. As for the Seven-Star dynasty, they might be on the verge of reconciliation. I've already killed the Qingming dynasty, so the Yun dynasty can take the remaining territory, Yi Linghuan said. Chapter 790. A. Is that appropriate? Yun Tianlong thought for a moment and asked. Of course. Night Moon Dynasty will be under a lot of pressure if they take over too much territory. Qingming Dynasty is right next to your Yun Dynasty. If you take it over, it will be suitable for you to develop, Yi Linghuan said. That's fine too. However, this king will send the resources after the war to Night Moon City. Night Moon has just returned and you have a large territory under your rule. You will need more resources, Yun Tianlong said. Yi Linghuan didn't reject this because Night Moon did need resources. Then, Yun Tianlong told Yi Linghuan about Yun Huang and hoped that Yi Linghuan could take care of him. The two talked for a while and Yun Tianlong left. Since he had reached an agreement with Night Moon, he had to declare war on Qingming Dynasty as soon as possible. Yi Linghuan already had this idea, and he had also reached an agreement with the other emperors of Night Moon. The Night Moon Dynasty owed the Yun Dynasty a favor for guarding the border. Giving the Qingming Dynasty to the Yun Dynasty was a return of the favor. Night Moon's territory, Golden Dragon King's dynasty and Red Leaf Dynasty's territory were already under a lot of pressure. Taking over Qingming Dynasty would be a burden. Then, Yi Linghuan brought Night Moon's higher-ups back to Night Moon City and handed Red Moon City to Night God Kuang. Linghuan, the next step is to reconcile with Seven Star Dynasty. We don't need to ask for too much, but we must fulfill the original agreement, Yi Shenxian said. Father, don't worry. I will take care of things here, Yi Linghuan nodded. After knowing that Night Moon's higher-ups had returned to Night Moon City, Star Tiger and Sing Lo informed Seven Star Dynasty's people to come over. This had to be done quickly because it was a matter of attitude. Before meeting the Seven Star Dynasty's people, Yi Linghuan sent someone to invite Night Sorrow to the main hall on Night Moon. Now, under the Night Moon, the main hall had been renovated. It was imposing, solemn, and had an ancient aura. After Night Sorrow arrived, he was originally standing at the entrance of the Grand Hall. This was because the hall was filled with elders. Other than the emperor, there was also a group of princes. Sitting on the main seat was Yi Linghuan. To his left was Yi Shenxian, who was meditating with his eyes closed. Next to him was Yi Wuyo and his wife. Below them were the emperors and princes. Night Sorrow, sit beside your parents. Yi Shenxian opened his eyes and waved at Yi Shang. This caused Yi Shenyue and the other princes, who were originally seated, to shift their seats. Night Sorrow cupped his hands towards Night Moon's elders. Then, he bowed towards Yi Linghuan, Yi Shenxian, and his parents before sitting down. In the future, you can wear the king's battle armor for official occasions. Yi Shenxian said to Night Sorrow. Isn't that for battle? Night Sorrow asked in a low voice. You silly boy, what don't you know? The direct descendants all wear the king's battle armor or king's battle robes in official occasions. Look at your parents. Yi Shenyue pointed at Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing. Night Moon's members were divided into men and women. When necessary, the men would wear the king's battle armor and the women would wear the king's battle robes. At this moment, Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing were wearing the king's battle armor and king's battle robes respectively. Yi Wuyo and Yu Qing smiled and nodded towards Night Sorrow. After a while, the Seven-Star Saint led the Seven-Star Dynasty's higher-ups into the main hall. After the two sides greeted each other, the Seven-Star Saint led the people to their seats. Then they entered the main topic. Night Moon's former city had already been constructed by the Seven-Star Dynasty. They were just waiting for the Night Moon Dynasty to take it over. Another foreign lord, Star Batian, gave a few storage rings. Inside are all the resources of our Seven-Star Dynasty for the past 5 years. Please accept them. Yi Linghuan gestured for Yi Shenyue to take the storage rings. Then he looked at the Seven-Star Dynasty's people. Then let's pay our respects to the heroes of our Yi clan who died in battle. Then, the group of people left the main hall and paid their respects to Night Moon's ancestors who died in battle. After returning to the main hall and sitting down, the Seven-Star Saint proposed an alliance. Original $I. Yi Linghuan nodded and let the Seven-Star Saint finish speaking. The Seven-Star Dynasty promised not to offend the Night Moon Dynasty, and was willing to marry the Seven-Star Dynasty's most outstanding princess to Night Moon. Then, Sing Lo stood up and bowed to Night Moon's ancestors. Night Sorrow, what do you think? Yilinghuan looked at Night Sorrow. War itself is painful. This bitter result can be said to be the wrong decision made by the ancestors. This should not be borne by the descendants and should not be sacrificed by the descendants. Children are in the hearts of their parents. As an elder, no one wants to see the younger generation unhappy. Night Sorrow stood up and said, Night Sorrow's view is the same as mine. The younger generation needs to be protected and not sacrificed. Of course, if there is someone who is in love with you, then I will support you. Yilinghuan said, Thank you Linghuan Saint for your magnanimity. Thank you young Master Yi for your magnanimity. Star Batian bowed to Yilinghuan and cupped his hands to Night Sorrow. He was also very pained to have Xing Lo marry him. Then, as the party that initiated the alliance and reconciliation, the Seven-Star Dynasty was willing to send troops to help Night Moon Dynasty take down the Qingming Dynasty. Then, Yilinghuan mentioned the cooperation with the Yun Dynasty. Seeing the worried faces of the Seven-Star Dynasty's people, Yilinghuan smiled and said, The Yun Tianlong Emperor is not a war maniac. He will not attack your Seven-Star Dynasty. In the future, the most important thing is for the Taiqing region to unite against the outside world. Star Batian understands. Our Seven-Star Dynasty also supports Linghuan Saint as the city lord of Taiqing City. This way, the Taiqing region can unite and become the #1 region of the 9 regions again. Star Batian cupped his hands and said. Then, Yilinghuan asked the Seven-Star Dynasty's people to stay as guests. Then they had some ordinary conversations. Night Sorrow slipped out of Night Moon's hall. Everyone was an elder, so he felt very pressured. Night Sorrow, thank you. Star Tiger followed him out and cupped his hands to Night Sorrow. I also want to thank you. I apologize for my bad attitude towards you in the past. Xing Lo, who came out with Star Tiger, bowed to Night Sorrow. It's nothing. I don't know if you guys participated in the 20-year war, but you definitely weren't the decision-makers. So, you shouldn't have to bear the consequences. Now that things have come to an end, you guys can stay here and play for a while. Night Sorrow said. I say, what kind of place are you staying at? We wanted to go there a while ago, but this place didn't allow us to teleport. Xing Lo looked at Night Sorrow and asked. It's a newly built town. Currently, that's where the people around me are staying. They probably don't want to disturb me because they don't want to teleport. Night Sorrow said. The god-slaying squad that you lead is very powerful. Bring me to meet them when you have time. After all, there are many people from Tianji Tower in that place. We'll definitely have a chance to work together in the future. Star Tiger said to Night Sorrow. Okay, I'll bring you there at 1 o'clock in the evening. Night Sorrow said to Star Tiger. Night Sorrow, I've apologized to you, right? If he can go, why can't I go? Let me tell you that I'm the protector of Tianji Tower. I want to meet the members of Tianji Tower. Can you still refuse? Xing Lo said to Night Sorrow. Just because you're the protector of Tianji Tower, I have to agree? What a joke. Why don't you ask your boss if I can refuse? Night Sorrow laughed. No one in Tianji Tower had ever ordered him around. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.